We always talk about how we're afraid of change, and sometimes change is a good thing. Well, I don't know if that's necessarily true. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. We'll see how it plays out. But there's a lot of change coming your way in football. There's change coming your way in baseball. And also, the boss has spoken. Not Scott Masteller,
and
our
not
boss.
Springsteen.
No, not Springsteen. But Jeffrey Lurie speaks to the media yesterday. Why is Nick Sirianni back? He told you. It's Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Kincade and Salciunas. John Kincade, Andrew Salciunas.
I didn't see fire out of the veterans on that club.
I think they tried.
No, but I didn't see fire.
I wonder how much of it fell on deaf ears.
This is Kincade and Salciunas, Philadelphia Sports Talk. 97.5 The Fanatic.
97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
And a good Wednesday morning, Philadelphia. I'm Andrew Salciunas alongside my man John Kincade. Johnny, what up?
I'm a little more tired than usual this morning after that Flyers game last night, which you heard on The Fanatic.
What you heard on The Fanatic, and it was electric.
It was awesome.
That sucks that they lost, but you got the point against a great Rangers team, and you're too excited to go to bed.
That's the thing. It's
Hockey's
like
back in the city, man.
It's like when you will find this out, when we have Sunday night football and Monday night football. There's no going to bed right after an Eagles game.
Oh, no. No,
like
I know
falling
that.
asleep.
Yeah, no, you can't. Win or lose.
Well, you're going to be up till 11:30, and then you're not going to be able to fall asleep. So the next, right after the show, nap.
Nap day.
Put it in your calendar.
I'm trying to figure out.
It's a nap.
I mean, that's what I schedule more. Not guests, not topics. Naps.
Yeah, we can have naps.
That's what's always on number one on my mind.
It works.
All right, so yesterday, more rules coming out of the NFL. We opened the show yesterday talking about the banning of the hip drop tackle. Toward the end of the show was the new kickoff rule. Then last night, we find out that they're going to be playing on Christmas Day again, which we go, oh, okay, that's cool. It's a Wednesday night, not a Thursday, not a Friday, not a Monday, a Wednesday night. So we have Wednesday night football or Wednesday afternoon, late afternoon football on Christmas Day.
And if you're playing on the Christmas game, they're going to play you on the Saturday beforehand. So that way, it's just like you're playing a Thursday
instead of Sunday
night.
to Thursday, it's Saturday
Correct.
to Wednesday.
So that's what they're going to do. But the NFL, think of it this way: the Eagles and the Giants last year had the highest rating of any sporting event that has ever aired on Christmas.
Wow,
that Eagles-Giants game. It was a quadruple the average NBA game shown on Christmas.
Oh yeah,
quadruple.
Yeah.
So they weren't passing on it.
The league,
no matter how much we think they should.
The league that's supposed to start unofficially on Christmas Day.
Yeah, exactly.
You got to wait another week.
They got their backside.
Roger Goodell just puts on the table and says, "Nah, this is my day now."
They had a 28.
Jesus was born.
Yes.
NFL football. That's what happens on Christmas
Jesus
Day.
prefers the NFL to the NBA.
Yeah.
He just does.
That's why he created us so hungry for football.
No question.
But I do have a question about the NFL, and this will turn it into an overall sports conversation because you and I got into a debate about robot umpires yesterday. So change is coming in sports. All right, it's being more modernized, and sometimes that's a good thing. Sometimes it's not necessarily a good thing. And we'll debate. It's up for debate. You and I debated about the robot umpire. I don't want it. You want it, right? So the NFL, with all the rule changes that are coming, it will always lead to debate. The banning of the hip drop tackle, I think, is a great thing for player safety. And I understand that comes first. But I do know that it's going to lead to questionable calls. It's going to lead to missed calls. It's going to lead to eye rolling for a lot of us, right? Because we're going to watch 150-pound cornerbacks not being able to stand up tall and tackle a 220-pound tight end. It's just not going to happen, and we're going to complain about the lack of tackling abilities from cornerbacks all across the NFL. We already know that it's an offense-driven league. I think we complain about defenses. We're going to complain about defenses more. We're going to complain about officiating more. There's still the unknown of how you can sack a quarterback, right? God forbid you fall on them, and sometimes they don't, and they still get flagged 15 yards. You touch your pinky fingernail. You forget to clip it a little bit that day, and you touch the helmet of the quarterback, 15-yard penalty. And 15 yards is a big deal in the NFL. And now with this new kickoff rule, a touchback isn't at the 20. It's not at the 25. It's at the 35. That's another huge change in football. Now, I said this a lot last year, John, and I know that you disagree with the sentiment because you look at the ratings, because the ratings are through the roof.
No, I do look at it because it does matter. It's the indicator.
It is an indicator, but I will tell you, I thought the product was really bad last year.
Okay, I'm going to give you another one. So you don't have to deal just with ratings.
Okay.
People never paid more for tickets and never attended more.
Oh, right. Yeah. What? Attendance was even higher.
Never paid more, never attended more.
Right.
Never watched more. So I hear the people who do the whole, the product sucks. That's not what people think. You may think that you may be a foodie, and you may go into a place, it's the best Lithuanian restaurant in Philly, and you may go in with a guy with a little bit more of a educated palate and say, this place sucks. This food doesn't taste like grandma or my great uncle would make. But if the people of Philadelphia swarm into the place and love it, and it's the hottest restaurant in town, that means it's great to me. I don't like if someone tells me a movie sucks and I loved it, I don't care what the critics said. I don't care that it didn't win the Oscar. It's a great movie. I understand that what I appreciate about the NFL is that it evolves.
It does.
But I almost think it's the constant involvement is exhausting me a bit.
Yeah, I mean, Derek Gunn said yesterday on Twitter, and this is a guy that's been covering the NFL for a long time. He said that they're watering down the sport. Now, to me, watering down is playing too many games. Like a Wednesday night game is watering down, not rule changes. But going into a game, there's going to be a lot of people that are confused. They're going to look at the kickoff and go, the hell's this? And there's going to be immediate negative reaction. You and I reacted to it on the air because we're talking. This is what we do for a living. We react to things that are put out on social media, the news of the day. There's probably somebody that missed the news, right? Or they'll forget about it come week 6 months from now. They'll forget about it. They'll put on Sao Paulo, Eagles, whoever, Eagles, Browns, whatever it is, and they're going to go, what is this kickoff? And everybody will give an immediate reaction of either they love it or they hate it. You and I are willing to test it out.
I'm fine with that.
But I'm telling you right now, I would rather them just start at the 20. Instead of doing this is too gimmicky to me. It's too arcade. I don't need this new kickoff. Just start at the 20.
Here's where I would say to you that the more I thought about it yesterday, the more I thought the Eagles could have an advantage. When you have one of the best kickers in the game, and I'd say the Eagles have one of the top 3 in the entire NFL, I'm going to bet that my guy can figure it out and make it an advantage for the Eagles more than other kickers can. And I'm also going to believe that Michael Clay, who I fully endorse, I wanted fired after the 2022 season.
Well,
I wanted them to go in the
Super Bowl alone.
Well, it was a terrible year, and then the Super Bowl, I believe his special teams unit helped them lose that game in a big way.
Oh, yeah.
But he had a spectacular year last year.
He did.
And so I'm thinking they're going to be able to figure it out. Because I was wrong on Michael Clay. I'll give it time to figure this thing out. But I also believe that there is a chance with Jake the Make, he'll be able to figure out how to make this an advantage.
So you know what's funny? We don't always have to disagree about everything,
right?
You and I, even though
no, we don't.
But we see things a lot different.
We absolutely do.
You looked at 2 rule changes to the benefit of the Eagles, which is fascinating to me. The hip drop tackle,
absolutely, because
benefits Saquon Barkley.
Because 6 highlights were shown in one of those loops
explaining what the hip drop tackle was.
Correct. After they showed the injury to Andrews.
Yes.
They showed that one, and then they're having the NFL players talk about what their opinion was. There were 6 highlights that looped twice over.
Yeah.
3 of them were Saquon Barkley.
So half of them were Saquon.
2 were Derrick Henry, and 1 was Josh Jacobs. So to me, immediately it turned my thing going, oh, wait a minute here. That is one of the major ways people have been able to bring down a Saquon Barkley or a Derrick Henry. And to me, advantage Eagles.
It's just crazy. And now this kicking thing, you go, wow.
Got one of the best kickers in the game.
Jake Elliott. I don't think Eagles first.
Why don't you? You think product first?
I think NFL rule change. I don't think Eagles rule change. I think NFL rule change, and not every year Jake Elliott's going to be your kicker. Not every year Saquon Barkley's going to be. If they didn't sign Saquon Barkley and you watched those 6 highlights, you wouldn't have thought anything of it.
I would have thought of nothing of it, and I may have had a different opinion about the rule.
Right. So
no question I was influenced by the visual, influenced me going, wait a minute.
Knowing that guy plays for the Eagles now.
They keep showing Saquon being taken down with it.
See, I think sport first. I don't think Eagles first. When it comes to rule change, obviously when somebody asks me, what's your favorite thing about the NFL, I'll tell you Eagles. But when it comes to rule changes like this, I don't immediately think of how it can help or hurt the Eagles. I think about the league itself, the product itself, and even though you're telling me the numbers are great and all that kind of stuff, I can have my own opinion.
You can.
Maybe the dinner did suck, and I might never go back. Now, I watch the NFL every freaking game. Thursday, when it goes to Saturdays, Sundays, Mondays, you bet your ass Cooper's going to get his Christmas present, and I'm going to not pay attention to him opening it because I'm watching Wednesday night NFL football on Christmas Day. But it still sucked last year, the product.
Do you? I don't believe it did. Do you? I believe there was parts of the game, though, that bothered the hell out of me. But do you tend to look at the world with an altruistic eye? Like when something happens, they say there's a tax cut coming.
Okay.
Do you look at it and say, is it going to benefit me? Or do you look at it and say, how is it going to benefit the country? Is it going to benefit more people? And it might even hurt me. I always, and I'll admit it, I look at it first.
It's team of you.
I look first at how it affects me, and then I look at then how it affects others. So, I mean,
there's an I in Kincade.
To me, I think that, it's the second letter. That's why I think that when I look at a rule, I immediately say to how does it benefit the Eagles?
No,
and I
go league first.
You think league. You think overall product first.
Yeah.
I don't, because I don't give a crap about the overall product if the Eagles give it a parade.
See, that's interesting.
Give it a parade down Broad Street. And more importantly, I know that people spend their time watching a lot of crap TV. Not good television. It's not quality. But people love it. They're attracted to shows. They watch things.
Yeah, like the stupid Masked Singer. Your Big Bang.
Hey, my Lotta was on that. Be nice.
I'm telling you,
horrible, but they rate well.
They do because people love them. And the thing is that no matter how much someone like you go, oh, Big Bang Theory, man, I couldn't watch that. And tens of millions did, and it lasted for 12 years.
No, I get it.
And it's a personal preference. I still look at it as, for the NFL, I'm an Eagles. I look at it with an eagle eye. How about that?
That's good. That's good work. Connor, are you NFL first or Eagles first? Or Phillies first, baseball first? Like, I go league first.
You know what's funny? For other sports, I think about it more as league, but for the NFL, I look at it Eagle-centric.
Wow.
Which is super weird that it's different
selfish,
for
right?
sport. But no, it's not selfish.
No, I mean, no. You're looking at it more as an Eagles fan.
Exactly. I don't think that's selfish.
Well,
I think that's rational.
What about baseball, though? Why is it different?
I don't know. I think it's because when it comes to the NFL, I'm much more a fan of the Eagles than I am a fan of the sport. Like, Eagles trump football. But
that's not the way it is for me when it comes to this.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. So Phillies don't trump Major League Baseball?
They're closer to even.
Okay. It's not close.
See, but I don't buy that. Because you and I had a conversation before when the Phillies weren't in the playoffs. You weren't really watching much playoff baseball.
Yeah, but I mean, like, I don't
buy that.
Yeah, but it was because you were hurt, right?
Yeah, we had a decade.
Yeah, but as a baseball guy, you keep on watching.
Yeah, I watched during the week.
You're just not a seam head.
Playoff baseball competes with what? What does playoff baseball go up against?
Football.
There we have it.
Okay.
And it gets its ass beat. Well, unless we're in it.
Playoff baseball on a Tuesday night.
No, unless
isn't going up against an NFL game.
Unless we're in
tape,
it. It gets its ass beat.
Yes, it does. Everything gets its ass beat by the NFL. It's incredible. And that's why I go league first, because the NFL is so big. Even though I am wearing an Eagles, pullover today, but I guess I'm just more of a football guy than you guys.
That's what you are. You claim to be the football guy.
That must
so
be
it's
what it is.
Keep telling us that. It'll sink in at some point.
Eventually you'll buy it. Now, speaking of the Eagles, yesterday we carried the Nick Sirianni press conference, but then the boss spoke. It wasn't Scott.
It wasn't our boss.
Talking about break structure. No, it was Jeffrey Lurie. Jeffrey Lurie spoke to the media yesterday, and it was like a 35-minute. He does this every year. Basically, the State of the Eagles address.
He usually did it at training camp, and then he stopped doing it.
He did. Now he's doing it at the owners' meetings. Yeah.
Right.
The only other times you really hear him speak are when they hire a new head coach, which
and I love that.
Last time was Nick Sirianni. I do, too.
I love it that my owner doesn't need to be center stage.
Did you see the Jerry Jones notepad where he's just scribbling?
My gosh.
That's awesome.
He's scribbling.
He's not taking any notes. He's just pretending like he is. So Jeffrey Lurie spoke yesterday, and we will get some answers as to why Nick Sirianni is back. That's another area where you and I differentiate. Like, I did not want him back. I was very adamant about not wanting him back.
Which I do not. I understand fully anybody who told me that.
Right.
I did not feel that way. I couldn't gas him a year outside the Super Bowl when you still were good enough to make the playoffs.
And it was 3 straight years of the playoffs, and they're going to look to make it 4 straight years. But part of the reason why I did not want him back was that he was the head coach of a team that had a historic collapse. We haven't seen one since 1986 like this, where it was the New York Jets, where a team with 10 wins through 11 games didn't finish with 12. It's only happened twice in NFL history. There you go. That's Kincaid's calculator.
I like that.
I stole it for a little bit.
And we had an extra game.
Right?
Yeah, so it was
amazing.
actually worse.
So it was a historic collapse. There's leadership questions. There's anonymous sources, which we hadn't seen to his credit, under a Nick Sirianni regime up until this year. The offense got stale. He's supposed to be this offensive mastermind. Now I'm hearing about meshing of his offense and Kellen Moore's offense, which I hate hearing. But Lurie said something yesterday that continued having me question, then why is he back? Take a listen to Jeffrey Lurie talk about what the good teams did last year and what the Eagles did not.
Why we were not able to be resilient as we expected goes into that analysis. And, I think one of the things that we were able to do in the past is when there's been a tough stretch to be resilient. Kansas City and San Francisco, two teams that, we competed against and do compete against, had rough stretches this season. And yet they were able to come out of it in time for the playoffs. And that's, I would say, the falling of our team at that point was we were not able to. I think that's just facts. We were not able to. They were, but there's no doubt that really, really good teams, Super Bowl teams, us the year before, KC and SF this year, tough stretches. You've got to be able to rebound from a 3-4 out of 5 loss, stretch. We were able to beat a lot of those teams, but we didn't rebound from it, and that was the key focal point of the analysis.
That doesn't explain, though,
Why?
why he's back.
And it doesn't explain why they collapsed. He's just saying that they collapsed.
Like to me, I guess I expected more of. I think Jeffrey Lurie's pretty honest.
Yes.
Like I think as a guy, he shares with you much more than a lot of other people do. But I expected more of an autopsy on this. And I really expected by now we'd have the Jeff McClain piece, the Tim McManus piece, the whatever that would say, here is exactly what went on. Somebody's talking. Nobody's talking.
It is surprising that nobody's talked yet. Now, I wonder if once more look, Javon Hargrave, after he signed with the 49ers, his first hit on, I think it might have been San Fran Radio, or was on a podcast or something, he talked about how if Brock Purdy didn't get hurt, the 49ers would have won the NFC Championship game 2 years ago. So he stabbed every one of his former teammates in the back.
He did.
Which, after going to war with someone and then being a turncoat like that.
That sucked.
I was happy for him that he got paid. Good for him.
No,
You can't stab your brothers in arms in the back like that after you just went to war against the 49ers. But I digress.
That's pandering.
There's going to be another player that probably signs somewhere that maybe says something, right? Or maybe there is the anonymous leak. Or maybe if the Eagles start off slow this season, God forbid, but maybe they start off slow this season, you start getting more, this is what happened last year. Hopefully that's not the case. Hopefully everybody's happy, and hopefully everybody just says, hey, we made mistakes, we're going to get better next year, and that'd be fantastic. But you're right, there wasn't really much to it. But Lurie realizes that the best teams rebounded from their 3-week stretch. The 49ers lost 3 weeks in a row.
They did.
And they got to the Super Bowl. The Eagles never came up with an answer. They never came up with a solution, and I still don't know what the problem was, and I still don't know what the answer is.
49ers, though, was last 3 weeks of October, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
So I think that there was time for it.
There was time for the Eagles.
With the Eagles, I think
Hey,
it
2
was,
months.
Yeah, but with the Eagles, first of all, they already had pushed the panic button of moving Sean Desai.
They
out,
did.
which pissed off. Darius Slay talked about it. Fletcher Cox talked about it as far as how difficult it was.
Hassan Reddick talked about it.
When they made that move, how difficult it was.
Yeah.
I'm still suspecting, by the way, that when some of the veteran players, and I think it was Cox talking about there are some guys out here doing things for their own stats, and I still wonder if he was taking a shot at Reddick.
He may be, and that may be why they wanted to move on from him. I mean, look, the pass rush was horrible the last 2 months of the season.
I don't know, and I hope that that's not the case. But to me, I expected an autopsy.
Well,
I expected to find out what the hell was going on.
He did talk a little bit more about Nick Sirianni. The very first question, which I appreciated, the very first question that was asked of Lurie yesterday was why Nick Sirianni is back. So we'll play that for you coming up next. There's a couple of things about Nick Sirianni. Obviously, Sirianni was a big talking point in the press conference yesterday.
Oh, yes.
So you'll hear from Jeffrey Lurie more. But that first clip that I hear when he talks about how the good teams prevailed and obviously they weren't a good team, well, why? Why didn't you prevail? And why do you feel confident that he'll be able to avoid that tough stretch next year? Or if there is another tough stretch, because they're not going to go 10-1 every single year, will they be able to once again bounce back? I don't know. I don't know about that about Nick Sirianni at this point.
I don't know unless you tell me what broke down at the end of last year. Whether it's going to be fixed, whether he can fix it.
Right.
I don't know.
Hopefully we find out soon.
I got more questions. I got more questions than answers after hearing from Jeff Lurie.
Yes.
And that rarely happens.
That rarely happens. Well, you'll hear more from Lurie coming your way next. You can climb in on the phones or text line at 610-632-0975. A couple of stuff that we got into to start the show. The NFL product and how it's constantly changing. Is it changing for the good or is it changing for the bad? What have you liked? What haven't you liked? And are you sport first or team first? I was not. I
weren't expecting to go that direction, but it was an interesting
I'm by myself here, apparently.
You are.
And more on Lurie, on Nick Sirianni. Coming your way next, it's Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
6 a.m. sponsor for.
This Wednesday morning knockout day.
Oh, it is knockout night.
Yeah, knockout night.
This is the day.
This is the first night appearance that I will be making with the new digs.
Yeah, wait till tomorrow morning.
Yeah, well,
I can't wait to see you at 5 a.m. tomorrow.
I'll be fine.
You will be. But
I'll be fine. You know what will wake me up even quicker is if Connor fails at knockout tonight. I will be very excited coming to work tomorrow.
Oh, sleep in all you want.
I'm rooting
we'll have a
for his-
little. We'll have a little. Jump in our step, a little pep.
Yeah, absolutely.
If Connor has to come in and say, "Haley, congratulations."
I love that you're all rooting against me.
Yeah,
I love it.
You're now the enemy on the court. You're the enemy on the court. All right, so we opened the show talking about the NFL product and how things are changing, whether you like it or not. Would love to get some of your responses on the text line at 610-632-0975. We also played Jeffrey Lurie talking about how good teams prevail.
Yes, and they fix things.
And how they fix things, and the Eagles did not do that.
You will get on the text line at 610-231.
Excuse me?
What is it?
610-632-0975.
We will.
It's like you didn't host a show here
You will
before.
be, exactly. You will be. I need to write it on my hand like in high school on a test. You will be ratioed terribly on the worrying about things from an NFL perspective compared to the Eagles. I think it's very and to me
I don't think that's true, dude.
I really do. I do. I think people
Put a poll out, Connor.
I think people are more Eagles fans than they are NFL fans.
No, I agree that.
So they're going to think Eagles first, NFL second.
We can poll that, but
Let's put out a poll.
What?
it'll
Connor.
be 80-20 in favor of John.
Well, just don't skew it, because
Oh,
John
now
doesn't
you're
like
worried
John
about
doesn't like the
skewers.
skewers.
I just write the word.
No, I do like a good
You
skewer.
like a good skewer.
You know how to do them on the grill?
Yes,
Yeah.
I do.
Okay,
Oh,
good.
Yeah, I'll
All right,
come
good.
on over one day.
I like a good skewer.
So yeah, put out a poll. When changes in the NFL happen, when there's new rules in the NFL, do you think Eagles first or do you think NFL first? For me, I think about the product of the sport itself.
You're altruistic. What can I say?
I guess so.
I don't give a damn about the Giant fans, the Commanders fans,
Now,
the Panther fans, whoever it is.
how will Nick Sirianni handle these rules is a big question because he can't
Talk about
handle-
writing stuff on your
He
hand.
can't handle a press conference. So speaking of press conferences, yesterday Jeffrey Lurie spoke to the media, and it's the first time Lurie spoke since the return of Nick Sirianni, since the end of the season. That was a colossal disappointment. And the very first question out of the gate, which I appreciate, was, why is Nick Sirianni back? Lurie gives an answer.
We go through a very, very intensive process after every single season. This season was no different. Extremely disappointing ending to the season, the last 5-6 games. Extremely disappointing to me, very frustrating for all of us. But what we do is, and I insist on this, is there's no recency bias, there's no latency bias, there's no bias. Take a very hard look at exactly what the entire season looked at, what the entire history has been over the last few years for our organization, for our team, and listen. I do a lot of listening. I ask a lot of questions. I listen to players. I listen to coaches. I listen to our personnel people. Once, one can assess and meet with Howie, with Nick, go through a lot of details and a lot of plans and a lot of philosophies, it was very easy to be very, very encouraged of where we're at and where we're going forward.
I respect the answer.
I'm glad the man's my owner.
Yeah, he's a
Because
great.
that's
he's a
the
great
process
owner.
I would want my
Right.
owner. That's the process I would want my owner to take.
Yeah.
Very measured, very detailed.
Without bias, without the
Take
just
his time.
looking at the last 2 months of the season.
Take his time. I disagreed with that, though.
What is it that you disagreed with?
Okay. If you ask me how the flight went, and it took off well, and the meal was, because it will upgrade with points. Now,
Of course,
hate
yeah.
that. You get a good meal, you get a good cocktail in the little bottle, which you won't pay for.
Nope.
And everything's good. But then in the last 40 minutes of the flight, we hit terrible turbulence. We almost crash.
Mm-hmm.
The wheel falls off on our landing. I don't want to hear about how the flight was good for 2/3 of the way.
Yeah, no, you don't want to hear that.
How
And
good was the meal?
And look, it is, and we still once again don't have an answer as to what happened,
We don't.
which is one of the concerning things. And I guess we'll find out once the season starts.
You have a
if they
theory?
figured things out. I think you're onto something about the young players not listening to the vets anymore, and I'm sure the vets probably felt a certain type of way because they're the guys that have been here and have won. Like, they won a Super Bowl. It's not like
Amen.
They're the Carolina Panthers and they've been, winning 5 games over the last couple of years, and they're saying, "Oh, I'm the one that's been here." Like, did you see what's been going on with the Marlins? Did you see the story with Jazz Chisholm and Miguel Rojas?
No, I did not.
Rojas was upset when a guy pimped a home run.
Oh, okay.
And Chisholm went up to him and was like, "Hey, let him do it." And he's like, "Well, you haven't been around here." Well, you guys haven't won more than like 85 games except once in the last 10 years, right? These guys won the Super Bowl.
Amen.
Right, so you should listen to Jason Kelce. You should listen to Fletcher Cox. You should listen to Lane Johnson. You should listen to Brandon Graham, in my opinion, because those are the guys that have won. They know how to build a team. They know how to be successful when it comes to keeping a healthy body, a healthy mind, all that kind of stuff.
All right, well, when I hear Fletcher Cox and Jason Kelce speak and throw bouquets at the feet of Nick Sirianni, and every other player in the locker room, it seems, really sort of stayed away from that. What that says to me is these guys are trying to build culture, because I believe others would unify behind them and just be like, "Hey, this guy's worthy of defense. Let me speak on it.
Right.
Let me talk about it." So to me, they may look at it as, dude, you can tell me all you want that Nick Sirianni's good. You can tell me all you want that I'm not buying it. I've seen good. These guys have seen good coaching. They've won national championships. If you're talking about just the Georgia players
Yeah,
alone,
that's right.
They've seen great coaching and won national championships and played. They know what great coaching is. They know they didn't get it last year.
Yeah, and it was their first chance for some of those players, first time they've ever faced adversity in a regular season. Right, like Georgia, they don't lose, right?
No adversity.
And so they look at their head coach and go, "Hey, we've lost 3 straight. What
are we doing?
What are we doing?" And then it's a bubble screen on 3rd and 6 again, right? It's the same plays. And I know A.J. Brown took to Sirianni's defense once and said, "Hey, if we just made this one block, it would have been a big gain." I don't care. It became predictable. His own players talked about the predictability of the offense. Now, one of the other things is, all right, what's Nick Sirianni's new role as the head coach if he's not calling plays offensively and if he's taking a step back, even though he's still doing the whole meshing of Sirianni and Kellen Moore? Jeffrey Lurie talked about what head coaches don't need to do anymore.
If you go back to who I've hired as head coach, with the exception of Chip Kelly, I've never hired a head coach who's really called any plays. They may have called it when they joined the Eagles or did eventually. I've always prioritized as a head coach many, many other qualities, and I think that's been one of the important aspects. I don't like to talk about it a lot because I feel it's like proprietary how we choose head coaches. It's a head coach's responsibility to have the plays called really well. It doesn't matter who is calling the plays. You want to have an excellent play caller. Does that have to be the head coach? No. When I look for a head coach, I'm looking for things that have big ramifications beyond the ability to call plays. And they're all important, but it's never been the reason I've ever hired a head coach.
I love how he gave you the Ivy League version of a competitive advantage. I don't want to tell you what goes into it.
Well, it's proprietary.
Right.
I will tell you this. Again, I love the fact that
it's a great answer.
I love the fact that the guy's our owner.
Yes.
Like Jeffrey Lurie to me is so, and he's learned on the job in a quarter of a century of owning this team. But he is so just thoughtful and measured. And he's so good behind a microphone. I'm telling you, every time he hears his head coach behind a microphone,
dude,
it's got to make Jeffrey Lurie sit there and
just going to say, he is so prepared, whereas Nick never is.
Yeah, but he's so calm.
Yes.
And he's not going to be lured down any alley to talk about something he doesn't want to talk about.
Right.
But he's going to give you something. Every answer from Jeffrey Lurie gives you something. It's not word salad.
Right.
It's not the Nick Sirianni word salad.
And look.
So he doesn't value that.
No.
Because Doug wasn't great behind a mic.
No, he wasn't.
Andy wasn't great behind a mic.
No, absolutely
Nick
not.
wasn't.
That's not important to him. It's emotional intelligence, right? That was the big one. And obviously being able to control a locker room. Now, what about controlling emotions? This is the last one we'll play in this segment. So Lurie was asked about Nick Sirianni and maybe his antics on the sideline, because Sirianni himself said he had to tone it down a little bit. Remember, he said it during the regular season.
He acts like a child.
And then there was the weird report that Big Dom was the reason why they started losing, because Big Dom was able to control Sirianni's emotions. Not be the security guy making sure a drunk idiot doesn't run on the field and punch Nick in the face. He's now the guy that controls Nick's emotions, which I give.
Does that surprise you? Like, I mean, does that?
I think that's horrible.
No, I think it's horrible.
Like,
but
I
when
give
you
Big Tom
watch
credit.
when you watch Nick Sirianni, he looks like a CYO coach.
He looks
On
like,
the sideline.
He looks like Friday Night Tykes.
It's
Remember that?
child.
Remember that
Yes,
show?
yeah, absolutely.
Those guys were nuts.
Yes.
Well, here's Lurie talking about the outburst from Sirianni on the sideline.
One of the aspects that makes Nick really good is he's authentic. He doesn't hold back. That also can be a negative at times. On the sideline, you don't want to infuriate the referees. I always worry about, I want the referees to give us a fair shake, so I don't want him to overreact. But I love his passion. I think he recognizes that it can be a little bit counterproductive if he overdoes his own passion. But you don't want to stop where that passion's coming from. So you got to find a sweet spot. And I think he wants to find a sweet spot of what that's like.
You know what that sweet spot is? It's celebrate when your team's like, I like it when there's a touchdown. If he wants to run downfield and celebrate with his guys, that's cool with that. I respect it.
Just don't go seeking out the Fox camera.
Don't do that. Don't do the during the Super Bowl when he's trying. He's mocking the Chiefs and telling them to start walking back because the penalty was on them.
And Jalen has to grab his arm
Yeah.
to tell him to stop.
This is the Super Bowl, man.
Jalen Hurts is going, Nick Saban wouldn't pull that crap.
Absolutely not.
You don't conduct yourself like that.
There's just some things that there is a sweet spot. I do appreciate his passion. When a guy makes a good play and he wants to go
That's
up there
fine.
and
No, I
smack
think
his
that's
helmet,
fine.
that's
Absolutely.
great because I imagine as a player you go, all right, my head coach rocks with me.
Bill Cowher used to do that back in the day.
Yeah.
Coach Cowher was very, meet them as they're coming off the field.
Yeah.
Sometimes Tomlin is. It'll be in a good or a bad way.
Right, in a good
He'll
or a
meet
bad
you
way.
coming off the field.
But there
I have
are
no
some
problem
other
with it.
things.
But don't get involved in there's an altercation on the sideline and you're getting into it with opposing players.
Yeah.
Stop acting like a child.
We don't have to jump onto the bench and say, this is for Frank.
This is for Frank.
We
You
don't
did
have
it for Frank.
We don't have to say, I don't hear you now, Chiefs
I mean,
fans.
come on.
Because now that's a meme.
Just stop.
Like, you fell
Yes.
apart. The Chiefs ended up winning a Super Bowl.
They did.
Yeah, so I'm glad that Lurie is talking about it because hopefully that gets into the mind of Nick Sirianni a little bit. There was one more thing from Lurie yesterday that I want to play for you. Enough people have said it where we should probably say, all right, that's the case. I just still don't buy it. I'll tell you what that is next. Would love to hear from you, 610-632-0975. I know we have a text on Nick Sirianni. We have a call on Nick Sirianni. I love the text line, man. It's amazing. It's Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Philly Sports Tonight. Discussion on the big stories we've been talking about all day. Coming up tonight at 6 on 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.
this Wednesday morning. Welcome into Kincade and Salciunas. Coming up in the 7 o'clock hour, when we do our normal reset of the show at the top of the hour, we're also going to react to the Wild Flyers game from last night, which was a great game. I can't wait for playoff hockey. Please get in. I can't wait for playoff hockey to come back on Broad Street. We have a lot in store for you today that we will tell you about to start the 7 o'clock hour. But before we get to this text and before we get to the phones, I want to play you one more clip from Jeffrey Lurie. And it's, John, I think you and I agree here, but it's one of these things where they keep on telling us something, and I don't care. I feel like you're lying to my face.
All right.
Lurie yesterday was once again asked about the defensive coordinator situation, whereas they had Sean Desai last year and moved on from Matt Patricia. And Nick said it was his call. Howie Roseman said it was his call. And now Jeffrey Lurie said it was Sirianni's call.
It didn't work. I think one thing I give Nick a lot of credit for is in a profession where there's a lot of comfortability, Nick has never taken that approach. He takes what he thinks is in the best interest of the team, whether it was from turning over the play calling to Shane Steichen early on to feeling even at, what were we, 9-3 or whatever our record was at the time, making a change in the defensive play calling in hopes that we would even be better in the last part of the season. One of the things I really respect about Nick is his ability to evaluate where we're at, where he's at, where he thinks the team needs, and he's very little ego to go in with that, and that's really important, I think.
Well, it wasn't 9-3; it was 10-3. But you first put the leash on Desai when you were 10-1.
Because you brought in the new passing game.
The third down team.
Was it the third down coordinator?
Yes.
Which I've never heard of before, by the way.
No. So imagine you're Sean Desai. You get to it's 3rd and 6, right? You made 2 good plays on 1st and 2nd down. And now you're like, all right, come on, Matt. What play are we running? And that's horrible.
And by the way, those games didn't work.
No, and then they decide to go fully removing of Sean Desai. And I'm not saying Sean Desai is Jim Johnson. Right?
No, but who was Matt Patricia's hire? Who hired Matt Patricia?
Howie Roseman.
And anyone who tries to spin it otherwise is false.
There's no way.
False.
Yeah, it's false. And so they make the change, and I still believe that was a Howie Roseman decision, even though Sirianni says it was him, Rosen said it was Nick, Lurie said it was Nick.
There is one thing I will completely agree with Jeffrey Lurie, though, is that when you are trying to win, there is no time for ego.
Right.
If you're trying to win, you do, and you're a good teammate, you do what it takes to try to win. You try things. You don't just say this won't work. You try it. So I admire the fact that Nick Sirianni also takes the bullet. But I believe that he's taking the bullet for a decision that was not made completely by him. He may have agreed with it, though. And that's one thing. He may have agreed with it.
He may have agreed with it.
And they just made him do it.
He also agreed with Kellen Moore and Vic Fangio, even though he says he hired him. But I don't buy that either.
Sure he did.
Let's go to Vic in Florida. What's up, Vic?
Hey, good morning, guys.
How are you?
Hi, Vic.
Listen, I love this station. I've been following them since 1960, probably. That's when I first, I was in Northeast Catholic High School on Kensington there.
Nice.
Anyway, I'm 81 years old, so have a little patience with me, will you? Listen, I think Sirianni, I don't know why he's still there. I think they should have cleaned house. They did. They only did 90%, though. And I still think he's an overpaid cheerleader. I don't see him doing nothing. I probably compare him too much to Andy Reid because I loved Andy Reid when he was here. And Andy Reid just looks like he knows what's going on all the time.
That's why he's arguably the greatest coach of all time, Andy Reid.
I think he is the
and I
greatest
don't want to have to compare. I don't want to have to compare Nick to Andy Reid.
No, I don't
right?
think that's fair yet.
Sometimes I don't think it's fair. Like
I guess not.
You know, but to your point, Vic, and we appreciate the call, sir. Thank you for calling. To his point, you know, it looks like Nick is sometimes swimming. We talk about the emotions, right? When they're winning, it's great when he's fired up. When they started losing, he was like this in the camera at all times, just deer in the headlights.
Yes.
He didn't look like he had any clue on the sideline. And look, I don't think none of us have an answer as to what happened, but you would think the head coach would have an idea.
And I'm going to tell you, too, I don't like take your kid to work day for the post-game press conferences either.
Oh, come on.
I don't know.
Stop.
No. Okay, tell me the NFL head coach that you have doing that.
I'm sure there's a couple.
Show me.
I don't know.
No, but you're saying like you don't know because we don't know because you don't see it.
You see it with players all the time. Why
You
can't the
don't
coach
see
do
it with coaches. Is that, do me a favor. If your kids are there, that's awesome. If you want to have your kids come to come with you and hang out with you and everything. But when you're answering questions at the end of a game, I don't want to see like, oh, we have 3 chairs for your kids too. It just is, it's not, that's the time to work. When you're done work, then step away. And before you say it, he goes, yeah, tell me the other coaches that do that.
I'm trying to.
Here's John Harbaugh.
I'm
Here's
Googling
Mike
right
Tomlin.
now.
Here's John
Coaches
Harbaugh.
with
Here's
kids.
Mike Tomlin. They all have kids, by the way. Like, just don't do it.
Okay.
Kyle
I didn't
Shanahan
realize it
has
bothered you so much.
Shanahan has
Yeah,
kids.
That's a minimal concern.
That
I
doesn't-
don't know.
doesn't
It is
bother-
again. It plays to he does things, Connor, that other coaches don't do.
That's okay.
That is completely well.
He's an individual.
No,
I just
he's
care how he
a player's
coaches.
coach because players do it.
Really? Did the players stand up for him? No.
You say
They did.
But you say he didn't lose the locker room.
No, I don't believe he lost the locker room. I believe the locker room imploded within itself.
Yes.
I will continue to insist it was older player, younger player issue.
But nobody had his back.
And there were players that were, I believe, the older tier of that locker room, the veteran leadership,
Yes.
which, by the way, did jack nothing. I almost pulled a Cooney. Did jack nothing down the stretch. I believe there were players in that locker room who were like, dude, I don't stop with the rah-rah speeches. Stop telling
Right.
me.
Just
I'll do my own
Come
thing.
up with a freaking answer.
Yes.
So what's the text we have, Connor?
Yeah, so we got to check in for Frank in Philly and address to you, Andrew, saying we can't always be firing coaches after 3 years. Nick went to 3 straight playoffs. Doug Peterson went 2 playoffs out of 3 years and won a Super Bowl. If you keep firing coaches, it's going to give the Eagles a bad reputation with coaches, and it makes it look like Howie Roseman and Jeffrey
Can I
Lurie
say
are
this
too
real quick?
involved. Yeah, go ahead.
Bull to the bad look thing. There's only 32 of those jobs.
I agree with you.
If you want a head coaching gig and one opens up, and you look at
nobody's passing
and you
on the
see
Eagle job.
Jalen Hurts,
Right.
Saquon Barkley, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, you know that Howie Roseman might be difficult to work with, is also going to do whatever he can to put the best talent on the field. I'm taking that job in a freaking heartbeat and not worrying that Nick got fired after 3 years and Doug got fired after 5.
No, because you got Nick Sirianni got a 5-year deal,
Yes.
paying him $7 million a year.
Yeah, he'll be fine.
He's fine.
He'll be fine.
He's not going on food
There's only
stamps.
32 of those jobs, and this team is talented. So I don't care about bad look. Now I get it. You can't always fire a head coach when there seems to be adversity, but this was different. I'll bring it up again. 1986, the last time we saw a collapse like this, twice in almost 40 years.
It does surprise
And
me.
one of them happened here. Okay, that doesn't just happen in the NFL. I'm not talking about Marvin Lewis going 8-8 every single year, right? This
No,
guy
I got
saw
you.
a collapse, and we still don't know what freaking happened. All right, to start the 7 o'clock hour, we reset the show, but also we break down a wild game on the ice between the Flyers and Rangers yesterday. Hockey coming to Broad Street, playoff hockey coming to Broad Street. I need it. I'm dying for it. It's Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatics Update.
Salciunas. Good Wednesday morning, Philadelphia. So we got a lot in store for you today. Adam Schefter. It's a Wednesday, so Shefty joins us at 8 o'clock.
Look forward to that.
Can't wait to talk to Shefty. That means we got to do today's headlines at like 8:15 with Connor Thomas. Normally it's an 8:05 hit. That's what the people are looking forward to. They got robbed of it yesterday.
That's okay. We'll get it to him a couple minutes later.
Sirianni wouldn't stop talking yesterday.
Unbelievable.
So we lost today's headlines with Connor Thomas yesterday. So we'll get that around 8:15. And your boy, Frenchie, Jeff Francoeur will be joining us at 9 o'clock. He's great.
Fox Sports star.
Yeah, he's tremendous.
Who wouldn't have a career without me?
Oh.
Again.
I'll have to ask him. Has that been known?
I think it's known. He had his.
I'll run it by him.
He was a player, and I just thought that maybe at the end of his career, he's photogenic. He's fun to talk to. So we got him a gig on my show in Atlanta.
Okay.
And he joined us for 2 or 3 years.
Oh wow.
Once
okay.
a week.
That's cool.
So it was like our insider.
Yeah.
So if Dansby Swanson ever becomes a broadcaster,
It's
same thing.
It's because of you.
Yeah. Brian Finner and, former Falcon, same thing. I mean, I've launched many a broadcasting career.
Okay.
So it's like he owes me.
All right.
I haven't seen a dime
you haven't
from
gotten
it.
anything
And he
yet?
also owes me a steak dinner for the so he has to pay up on that one.
We'll have to talk about that
Yes,
with
he owes me
Jeff
one.
Francoeur at 9 o'clock. But before we get back to our conversation to start the show, I know we have a Twitter poll that John's excited to hear
Love
about.
Twitter polls.
The Flyers game last night
Yes.
was electric. Now, was it the best brand of hockey when there's 7 goals in the third period? No.
It reminded me of that Boston game 2 Saturdays ago.
Yes.
That was the 6-5 game. You're going to the third period tied 2-2. You give up 3 goals in like 3 minutes.
Right.
You're down 5-2. You fight back to 5-4. You give up a goal 6-4. You score one to make it 6-5. Last night was just wild.
It was
You got
wild.
the point.
You got the point. And look,
And that was key. You needed that one.
If they lost that game yesterday in a normal, let's say they lose 4-2, you go, all right, they had a great stretch in the gauntlet, right?
Yes.
They end up at least getting a point out of it. Now I know it was disappointing that you give up 4 goals in the third period. Urson had a rough stretch.
He was bad in the third period.
He was bad in the third period.
He was bad in the third when they needed him most.
He was still the best. He's still the best goaltender on this team.
He
because,
is, and we can
Sandstrom
thank Carter
struggles.
Hart for the fact that this organization is where it is right now
yep.
as far as goaltending.
So the Flyers, with that point yesterday, they're still third in the Metro. Now you've been eyeing the Caps; they've won 3 straight.
Yeah, I've got it. Caps are a problem.
Okay.
Here's why: just a simple math.
Because you got the Kincaid's calculator.
Caps win out. So I always just go by like magic number scenario.
Yes.
Caps win out, they can get 103 points. Flyers win out, they can get 100 points. It's starting to look.
Then it comes down a wild card.
Then it comes down to wild card. So then you just focus on Detroit. Detroit, if they win out, can finish with 99 points. Flyers can finish with 100. It is a battle. But
it is a battle.
Here's what you really feel good about.
The schedule.
Red Wings, next 3 games, at Carolina, at Florida, at Tampa.
Tough stretch.
That is a brutal stretch.
Yeah.
So, and you have 2 games at home, you should be able to win with Chicago and New York, and your 1 game at Montreal tomorrow night that you'll hear here on The Fanatic. So to me, I think by the early next week, we should have much more clarity that a wild card looks almost secure.
Right.
Almost.
But can you get
secure.
that third spot?
You're up 3 points. I want to be up 5 points going into next week. At least 5. You're up 5 or 6 going into next week. The Flyers will be in the playoffs.
And they should be, right? Because here's the deal. You've now reached the point where you're clearly a decent hockey team, right?
You are.
And if you look at the stretch, so Montreal, you played them twice. I know I know tomorrow night they played, but you play Montreal twice.
Yes.
You should be able to handle business in both those games.
Whoa. They've been playing better hockey, though.
Should.
I know. I got you. That's a game you're expecting them to win.
Okay. Columbus, you should take care of business.
You should.
That should be another look, I know anything can happen. I get it.
Remember when everyone told you that we needed to sign Johnny Hockey to like a huge contract and everything?
Yeah, that was me.
Yeah,
I was one of them.
That was like the Russell Wilson discussion.
Well, we'll move
But
on
look,
from
we
that.
all make mistakes.
Yeah, we all make mistakes.
I make them too, believe me.
You got a game against the Sabres. You should take care of it. And you still have the Rangers and Caps 2 out of your last 3 games. So hopefully you're locked up by then.
I would tell you right now, this is just me.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a Flyer fan, the 16th, there is a game on the calendar, April 16th, the last home game against the Capitals. It's going to mean something.
Oh, so you think it's going to come down to that?
I think it's going to go down to whether you finish third or whether you're the wild
All right,
card.
so playoff regardless.
I think by then, my guess is Flyers and Caps will be in the playoffs, and it will be a matter of who gets to play Carolina or the Rangers, depending on who finishes second, and who has to face Boston or maybe New York. I don't know.
And that's let's see.
It's
April
the last
16th.
game. It's the
a
16th.
Tuesday night.
Last game of the
7
year.
o'clock, South Philly.
Last
Flyers,
game of the year.
Caps. It means
I'm telling you right now, I would grab tickets now.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Because these two teams, look, the Caps, again, they have the advantage right now. They have the advantage, even though they're behind the Flyers. They've got the advantage. I would absolutely grab tickets to that game.
I just love that we're having these
I
conversations,
can't wait.
man. It's great. I just absolutely love that we have these conversations. man.
Violation or not that I was texting with Keith Jones in the third period last night.
Probably a violation.
That's probably a violation.
Probably a violation.
Shouldn't do
you
that.
wait after the
Shouldn't
game.
do that.
Shoot him a text. Hey.
But it was a complimentary text.
Oh, well, okay. Well, you
It
could've shot the text
wasn't a
afterward.
conversation text.
He doesn't
was
text you during the show.
No, he has. He has.
Okay, then you're
But he has not. But he's never been complimentary.
Well, then he's fair.
There he goes. So he's fair-minded. I love it. I love it for the Flyers. I love the fact that there'll be nothing better than to have the Sixers, which looks like the play-in tournament.
They're going to be in the playoffs.
And then if the Sixers are in the play-in tournament and the Flyers are in the postseason,
Oh, you and I were just dreaming of this.
I'll be
Flyers,
crazy.
Sixers, they usually don't play on the same night, right? So it's the
It'd be
back and
awesome.
forth calendar,
Oh.
the start of baseball season. How many times have I said to you, 2024 is going to be a wild year of content?
well, it's
A
wild
great
already.
year of content, and we're only in March.
The Flyers still have work to do though.
Yeah, they
and
do
so
still have
take
work
care
to
of
do.
business. We'll know a lot more after the next 3
Listen,
games.
I already made the stamp on Saturday. Playoff hockey's return to Broad Street. So
Okay.
I need that to come to fruition.
You want that to
okay?
age well.
I don't need an old takes exposed.
You don't want, hey, Eagles fans, let's ride.
Yeah, no, I don't need that. All right, so we talked a lot about what Jeffrey Lurie had to say during his press conference in the first hour of the show, and we'll get back to that. But one of the things that we wanted to start the show with was the new rules that are coming to the NFL, the new kickoff rule, which you and I are both in agreement. Let's see how it plays out. But you and I are both in agreement of we wish they would just start on the 20.
Yeah, I'd be fine with that.
My biggest thing is I think it's too gimmicky. Like I think all of a sudden I'm playing NFL Street Volume 3, which is when they had the kickoffs. Yeah, you see, you guys weren't ready for that poll.
Oh, nice
You weren't
poll.
ready for that poll. It's becoming cartoonish. Like I don't want this. You're lining up on the 35 and you can't move to the ball's caught. And I understand the player safety angle of it. You know what's even safer? Just starting on the 20, not having a kickoff at all. I don't want teams starting off on the 35-yard line on a touchback. Now, what I found fascinating with the hip drop tackle and the new kickoff rule, both of your immediate reaction to both rule changes was how it benefits the Eagles.
Yes.
And my immediate reaction was just how this may help or hurt the NFL product. And I've said it a million times, I don't think the product was great last year. The Eagles were the best team in football at one point, and they weren't stellar last year. There was the Brady podcast that he did where he talked about quarterbacks just aren't coached the way that they used to be. Practices have affected a lot of that kind of stuff. Like, I do think the product on the field is changing a little bit. Now, that doesn't mean I'm not watching every single game.
The product has changed on the field because of the NFL Players Association.
Yes, big time.
That literally fights every single time for more vacation time
Yep.
and less practice time.
Yeah.
That is what they put at the top of their, other than they know they're going to get a little more in the revenue share. They fight for that. But what they fight for is they don't fight for guaranteed contracts. They just bitch and moan every year that they don't have them.
Right.
So instead of fighting for guaranteed contracts, what they fight for is we want more time off and we want to practice less in pads. And so that's why the product has suffered.
Yeah.
Period.
It has.
That's it. That's it.
And it has, but you keep on pointing to the ratings, which I agree with you.
Fans love it.
But my own personal feeling is, look, as much as I love it, and I watch it every single week I go, man, this is a bad game. Oh, man, look at the card in this one. This is a tough one. Now, last year, quarterback injuries affected that big time. And there was a lot of major injuries to quarterbacks last year. I get it. So we put out a poll, which John loves.
I love polls. I think it's a great idea.
And Connor, can you read the question? Because before you give the answers, we need to see if it was skewed or
we
not.
need a skew
They're so
rating out of you
scientific,
guys.
these Twitter polls.
When new NFL rules are introduced, what do you think about first? How they will affect the Eagles specifically, or how they will affect football as a whole?
Okay, that is a fantastically worded question.
Okay.
Oxford University, baby.
That's good. That's good.
A semester.
Now, here's last week, our first ever poll, you believed it was skewed.
I did. And it was.
And the responses were on my side.
Correct.
The last poll you did not believe was skewed, and the responses were on your side.
Because it was written well.
So you believe these responses will be in favor of John Kincade?
No, I believe that is a fair representation of our discussion.
Okay. So, Connor, what are the results?
The results are 59% of responders saying they think of the NFL first. Agreeing with
interesting.
Andrew. 41% say Eagles first.
Okay.
I'm floored by that.
I'm floored right now by that, too.
You guys were like, oh, you're going to be ratio.
No, I thought I'd be surprised because I truly believe that in this town, people are more Phillies fans than baseball fans.
Absolutely.
People are more
Absolutely.
Eagles fans than NFL fans. I don't believe that this town doesn't pull great numbers as like watching the Warriors and when the Warriors play the Suns on a Saturday night. This town doesn't pull great numbers on that.
No, but
other cities do.
watch Sixers Pistons.
In great numbers.
Right.
And we care about our own. We're very provincial. I'm fine with that. I'm not critiquing it. But what I'm saying to you is that there's that's
no, you're absolutely accurate because we overrate a lot of our players because we don't watch the rest of the league. I feel bad because I always use this example. You had a juror a few years ago.
Okay.
Quaz.
Oh, Quaz, yeah.
Was one of your jurors.
Right.
And when I found out that he was a juror, I thought that he should have been removed from the jury.
Reasoning being?
He once told me that Alex Singleton reminded him of Patrick Queen.
Okay, well, that is
They both play linebacker.
Now, the thing is, though, we did impose for the jurors last year, we did have drug testing.
Okay.
So we did try to
I don't know if it was necessarily drug related. I think it was Eagles fandom related where you watch your players, you study your players. Whether it's a 17-week NFL season, a 162-game baseball season, 82-game hockey and basketball season, and your best player on your team you may think, wow, this guy's really, really good. But the best player on your team might be 10th in the league.
Do you ever do a job, when doing this job, where I will say, I listen to our NBA callers. We've got a few great ones.
Yes.
That I say are great. Capital G, great. And they will come in and discuss Sixers with us or NBA with us, and I'm blown away. I'm like, okay, that's great insight.
Yeah.
That's great insight, whatever.
My man Stan from Drexel Hill.
Stan's
great basketball
He's
caller.
my favorite NBA caller. Stan's the guy. But I also then hear people come around the NFL draft. And I hear people talk about college football, and I shake my head and go, okay, I learn a lot from our callers about the NBA. I hear callers talk about leading up to the draft, who they should draft in college football players, and I go, okay, that person didn't watch a lot of college football.
Yeah, and
I'm hearing all this Jeremiah Trotter Jr. stuff.
Right.
And it's really great that Jeremiah Trotter Jr. is a local guy. He's going to play in the NFL, and I wish him nothing but the best.
I hope he's on the Eagles,
but
not in the second round.
When I hear people go, second round, you got to grab him. No, you don't.
Right.
You do not. If you watched him play, you do not want to grab him with a second rounder. But because he's Trott's kid, people are like that. I wish him nothing but the best.
Right.
And if he ends up here, and it's a third-round pick or a fourth, I think a fourth-round pick. But that's to
regardless.
me.
But
I think
we do that. Like I'll give you a couple other examples. Kayvon Wallace.
Yes.
Oh, he's a safety out of Clemson?
Oh, my gosh.
Because Brian Dawkins was a safety out of Clemson. All of a sudden, Kayvon Wallace was going to be this stud. He's horrible.
I shook my head and said, I watched a ton of Clemson football.
Yeah.
Being down in the South. And I did not remember Kayvon Wallace being this guy that I said, damn, I want to see him in Eagle Green.
There was another guy. People loved Zach McPherson because he went to Penn State. He also transferred out of Penn State because he was not good enough to start on the team. So he left.
It's Syracuse, right?
I think that was Syracuse.
I think he went to Syracuse.
And I go, well, yeah, it's great and all that he was a Nittany Lion. Not that I care, but for some of you guys do care. But he wasn't good enough to play on the team. So why are you excited that they drafted a former Nittany Lion? Like we have that emotional attachment with people. People didn't want to trade Tyrese Maxey for Kevin Durant because he was the homegrown guy. People love homegrown players in Philadelphia.
They do.
That's a big part of it, right? whereas the Phillies are literally not a homegrown team.
No,
Right?
they're not. No, the Phillies.
You have Stott and Bohm, which is great, but everybody else you bought, and
You're buying.
I'm cool with that because that means my team is good.
Well, you like star chasing.
Yes,
And that's one thing listening to you over the years, and now,
they're better players.
partnering with you every day. I do not think the star buying chemistry is a proven formula for working.
The Phillies' chemistry is pretty good.
Its chemistry's good, yeah. It's
great.
also
It's
and
great,
also
I could
has
say.
its flaws.
Okay.
The system has its flaws.
The system it does. But
As far as putting a bunch of stars together doesn't necessarily mean the Texas Rangers won the World Series.
Okay.
Did what the Phillies couldn't close out the last 2 years. Texas Rangers roster. Would you take the Phillies 2022 or 2023 over the Rangers?
I would take their roster over the Rangers, but
Yes,
the Rangers won.
You would.
Yeah.
Because I think there's more to it than just saying, let's get every star we can. Like, I hate the Sixers with the star buying mentality. I think it was built wrong. And when they rebuild, which they're going to have to rebuild, I hope they don't take that mentality.
Oh, well, we'll see. We'll see. All right, so that was the poll, and it's in my favor. So it's
right
clear,
now.
It's clearly skewed.
No, it's well written today. There's no excuses today. It's well
So
written.
the changes in the NFL, is it good? Are you in favor of it? Later on in the show, we'll talk about other changes in sports, whether we like them or not when they originally happened, and did it play out in a way that we liked or did not like.
Do you change a lot? Do you find, like, I find a lot in life, where my initial reaction to things will be a poor one or a great one, and then it switches. I find that all the time.
No, I don't.
I do. I am like I always say, I'm a poor judge of character.
Okay.
My wife and I'll meet somebody. We'll get in the car afterwards, and I'll be like, boy, I really love that Salciunas.
And she
And
hates
she'll say,
Salciunas.
she'll go, I didn't dig him.
Yeah, he
and then,
sucks.
And I'll really and then after time rolls along, she'll be right, I'll be wrong. Or it could be the other way.
Right.
I don't like somebody and end up thinking they're like the greatest.
You know, sometimes I realize change is coming, and when it's inevitable, I just deal with it. I did not like the universal DH, which we'll talk about later on.
Right,
I
exactly.
did not like the idea of it, but I knew it was going to come, so I dealt with it. I did not know that this new kickoff rule was going to come.
I did not. I
thought
didn't
when
even
it first,
hear this.
Well, no, I knew it was being talked about, but when it was being talked about, I was like, there's no way they're going to go for this. If anything, they're just going to start at the 20. This is too gimmicky. It's XFL. The XFL is a gimmick league. The XFL is a failure. Spring football is a failure. Why would you adapt to some of their rules?
Okay, here's what I would say to you on that.
Yeah,
And I'm stealing it from Michael Wilbon
Okay.
yesterday on ESPN. You love the three-point NBA. You love today's NBA.
Yeah.
They stole that from the WBA. They stole that from the ABA.
Okay.
They took a
I
rule.
wasn't alive.
They took a rule from a failed league and brought it to the coveted NBA.
Okay.
And changed the NBA in your mind for the better. This is what happens is there's rule changes. Sometimes it can be an experiment by somebody that you like and everything. I don't prefer the just chuck and duck NBA as it is
Okay.
today.
Yeah, whereas I
don't
told
prefer
you
it.
Villanova Georgetown's the most boring game I've ever watched.
As long as there's a shot clock, I'm fine with it.
Okay.
But I don't prefer I think the three-pointers become too easy. And it's all I see.
It shows that means that they're very talented and good at what they do, and it's the best players in the league.
Yeah, I just see too much of it. Like it's not as entertaining a game as I enjoy a game that doesn't rely as much
All
on
right,
the
so
three.
sometimes change is
Right.
good. Sometimes you don't like the change, and I don't know if I'm going to like this change. So that's the main tenor of our conversation today. You can climb in on the phones or on the text line at 610-632-0975. Do you like the changes that the NFL will be implementing? Have you liked the changes that they've added to the league over the last couple of years? I do think the product took a hit last year. That doesn't mean I think the NFL is going to crumble. I don't think the NFL is going to, oh, man, is it going to be like baseball where it was once America's pastime? No, I think the NFL will be king for a very long time, if not forever, right? I don't think pickleball is going to take over.
It's not going anywhere.
The NFL's king, but I do believe that sometimes just because it rates well doesn't mean the product is necessarily all that great. So we would love to hear from you on that 610-632-0975, either on the phones or on the text line. We played some clips from Jeffrey Lurie. We will go back to those as he talked about the reason why Nick Sirianni was back, but he also talked about Howie Roseman. Yesterday, John, you were saying that if they had to rebuild, Howie wouldn't be here for it.
I don't think he would preside over a rebuild.
What did Jeffrey Lurie have to say about Howie Roseman yesterday? Because a lot of it was about Nick Sirianni. We'll play you that clip next, right here. Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic. Adam Schefter will be joining us in 30 minutes. Can't wait to talk to Shefty because obviously we can get into more Eagles off-season stuff. We didn't even talk about it because it happened over the weekend. The Eagles not trading for L'Jarius Sneed.
Which I was fine with.
He got a big contract. Big contract.
Why does he – look, I know you want to get paid. You want to get paid the biggest money.
Were you about to ask why does he want to get paid?
But I got to tell you, there's no way I'm not making something work. I'll take a little less to be with a great team. To be with a great team with a chance to win championships, I will absolutely take less than say.
Now he's won twice, right?
Yes.
Two-time Super Bowl champion. Maybe he goes, look, I got my rings. I want my money now.
He still was going to get his money.
Because he goes to Tennessee. He's not going to win in Tennessee.
He's not going to win in Tennessee. He's getting more money plus, remember. And it is a big thing with athletes, the idea of not paying state tax. It's huge.
So I'm sure that's part of it.
Absolutely.
But he won twice, and he could retire tomorrow and go, I won 2 more Super Bowls than a lot of people. I won more Super Bowls than a ton of people in my career.
After winning and then going to losing, I don't think it would be
bad. We'll see. So we'll talk to Shefty about the moves that could still come with the Eagles. Obviously, we're still awaiting what's the latest with Hassan Reddick. But also all these rule changes with the owners' meetings going on right now in Orlando. A lot of rule changes, and I know Shefty was one of the first people to post the video from the XFL of what the kickoff would look like. The league's constantly changing, and we'll try to get into the reasoning why it's constantly changing. Is it because of health? Is it because they see trends? You talked about how you want more offense than defense, right?
I absolutely do.
That could be a more of an offensive reason. Oh, touchback, 35-yard line. That's 15 yards more than what it was 10 years ago. 10 yards more than what it was just last season. So we'll talk to Shefty at 8. We have Jeff Francoeur coming up at 9. In the middle of that, around 8:15, we'll do today's headlines with Connor Thomas. And one of the headlines today is Jeffrey Lurie speaking yesterday. So let's first play the clip that we first played to start the show, Connor. He goes into the collapse, and we're still trying to figure out, all right, what happened. He doesn't really give an answer, but he says something that made me think about the futures of Nick Sirianni and, to your point, Howie Roseman. And you'll hear him on Howie momentarily. But here's Jeffrey Lurie yesterday talking about what the good teams did last year and what the Eagles didn't.
Why we were not able to be resilient as we expected goes into that analysis. And, I think one of the things that we were able to do in the past is when there's been a tough stretch to be resilient. Kansas City and San Francisco, 2 teams that, we competed against and do compete against, had rough stretches this season. And yet they were able to come out of it in time for the playoffs. And that's, I would say, the falling of our team at that point was we were not able to. I think that's just facts. We were not able to. They were, but there's no doubt that really, really good teams, Super Bowl teams, us the year before, KC and SF this year, tough stretches. You've got to be able to rebound from a 3-4 out of 5 loss, stretch. We were able to beat a lot of those teams, but we didn't rebound from it, and that was the key focal point of the analysis.
Now, key point of the analysis. Well, if that's a focal point of the analysis, I guess that means what they're going to do this upcoming season to avoid that from happening. But if it's also key focal points of the analysis, and you realize that those teams, with Andy Reid, great head coach, and I'm not a Shanahan guy. I know you're not the biggest Shanahan guy.
No.
But look, he's a good coach,
Even
right?
though you're like him. I heard with the towels.
Oh, well,
that's a whole nother issue.
How dare you? Those 2 good coaches in the NFL did recover from their struggles and got back to another Super Bowl. Kansas City wins another Super Bowl, whereas the Eagles, once there was adversity, they spiraled out of control, and Nick couldn't come up with an answer.
The San Francisco struggles were due to losing major pieces due to injury.
Yeah.
The Eagles' struggles were internal.
Right.
Were internal. And I will also say, by the way, and I'll share it, I do believe another reason that locker room imploded was because of the fact that Seattle game finish, when Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown decided to improvise went rogue, and there were 2 wide-open players on the left side of the field that would have at least sent that game to overtime when you have Jake Elliott. Would have at least given them a chance to win, and it might have done even better. If those guys just get the catch, run out of bounds, you may win that game in regulation with a high percentage play. So I think there were things that broke apart.
Yeah, and then when they had the chance to talk about it, Nick Sirianni fell on the sword.
And then
and then AJ eventually tells the truth, and Jalen still hasn't talked about it.
10 days later, A.J. Brown stands up in his locker and tells the truth.
Yeah.
And I would believe that Jalen Hurts wasn't pleased by that. I would believe that.
Yeah.
That he wasn't pleased because Jalen Hurts decided to, after that game, on a microphone, not own the fact that him and A.J. Brown went rogue. When the 9 other guys on offense, that had to piss them off.
I'm sure it did.
It had to piss off Devontae Smith. I was wide open.
Yeah.
Kenneth Gainwell. I was wide open.
Right.
That was the play call. And God forbid, they schemed 2 guys wide open on the left side of the field, ready to catch
So
the ball.
one time we couldn't rip Sirianni's offense and Brian Johnson's play call when they were actually there.
And Nick Sirianni, being a good man,
Yes. Which I give him credit for.
took the bullet for both of them, and neither one of them stood up and just said, oh, no, that was us.
I think there's a million things that went wrong with that team last year, but it all fell under his nose. And so we'll see if he can recover that next year.
But that's what pisses me off about the fact that Jalen, when given the opportunity, once in a scrum, once with Jeff McClain with a microphone,
still hasn't had
did not step up and say, yeah, I respect Nick Sirianni. Because he should have respected Nick Sirianni, because Nick Sirianni took the bullet for his poor decision.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, the other thing, you said this yesterday.
Yes.
If the Eagles ever had to go in a rebuild. Now, I don't think this town would ever be ready for it. Connor, you and I, we talked about this yesterday. We've never seen one.
No, we've
not.
We've
seen blips. We've seen a couple of seasons here and there, but then it quickly turned around, whether it was because of Howie or whether it was because of Chip or you name it, because they did go to the playoffs first year Chip. You said if there was a rebuild, Howie Rose would not oversee it.
I don't believe.
Now, is it because he got fired or because he wouldn't want to do a rebuild?
I don't believe that Howie Roseman will hire another coach here. I can even make it simpler. If Nick Sirianni goes, I think Howie Roseman will go.
I don't buy that.
I'll take that bet.
I don't
don't
believe that Howie Roseman is hiring another coach.
Well, Jeffrey Lurie loves himself some Howie Roseman.
Our roster development, I think, is Howie was extremely analytic, self-critical, and has an ability to see where we can be much better, and has the ability also to have a strategy of how to get there. I mean, you can say, okay, we need this, we need this, we need this. This is not how Howie operates. It's much more multiple than that, and it's understanding evaluation of where different positions are in the league, where the league is headed in certain ways so that you can be a little different. Where can you have advantages, both on salary cap, contract structure, on planning ahead, resources, draft allocations. I mean, it's extreme, and he has a great staff. And, people don't talk about that enough, but he's got an outstanding support staff in all aspects, and we pay a lot of attention to the ability to construct contracts that gives us opportunities to have distinct advantages in the league, and, we'll stick to that approach.
That sounds like somebody who doesn't want to lose Howie Roseman.
I don't think he does either. But I do believe this, for one thing, is that Jeffrey Lurie, I don't believe Jeffrey Lurie will be running the franchise in 2026.
Okay, his son's
I believe
waiting in the
Julian
wing.
will. And so at that point, I don't think that it's – I don't –
Yeah, but the two of them are already working together.
They are.
Julian and Howie.
They are. But that doesn't mean that Julian may not say, if they come up with another roster that has flaws and mistakes, which Jeffrey Lurie just acknowledged this year, if he didn't correct his mistakes, if he went out and had a flawed roster last year, and then he puts together another flawed roster this year, and they spent more money doing it, I think the conversation can change. I really do. I will stick with it, and I guess, may end up being, this may be as bad as Andrew wanting Russell Wilson in retrospect. But I'm going to say that I do not think he will hire another coach here.
Okay. Well, I don't think he's going anywhere anytime soon, man. I really don't.
And I don't want him to go anywhere.
No,
I don't want him going.
He's a great general manager.
Because if Nick Sirianni is staying, that tells me this franchise is doing well.
Well, and if Nick Sirianni isn't staying, I think they give him a chance to do it all over again.
Man, I've never seen a GM in any sport almost hire this many coaches.
Yeah, but the GM is closer to the owner. Normally, it's GM and coach.
That is the truth.
Right. It's normally GM and coach. When one gets fired, the other guy gets fired. This one's so much different, where it's Howie and Jeffrey Lurie are almost tied at the hip.
And we talked about it a million times.
we said it during the break. Jeffrey Lurie, the whole gold standard thing, he got ripped for it. You can make the case that they are.
I would make the case that they absolutely are one of the.
Right, because the Patriots, even though
Right.
the era is over. I mean, you can't ignore the fact that they won as many Super Bowls as they did.
What I would say is this. The era with the Patriots, boy, it sure plummeted fast when Tom Brady left.
Yes.
And they haven't pulled them,
yeah.
and they have not pulled themselves
Well,
out
that's
of
why
a
there's now a
nosedive.
new era. Totally.
They're-
I mean,
They got a top
Woody's
three.
gone.
They got a top 3 pick
Yeah.
because Bill Belichick couldn't pull them out of the nosedive.
Still would have taken him here, though, as head coach.
I would not.
Because I'm a star chaser.
Oh no, you're star chasing.
I'm a whore. When it comes to that,
I got
come
it.
on.
You can be bought. That's fine. We're just
Absolutely,
negotiating the price with you. That's the idea.
Absolutely.
It's not a question of whether you are a sports whore.
Right.
It's just we're negotiating.
Yeah,
the
we're
price.
negotiating. All right, so coming up next. So we talked about the rule changes in the NFL. I'm not in favor of these rule changes, both the hip drop tackle and the new kickoff. Now, I am pro safety. Let me get that one out of the way. I am pro player safety. I just think it's going to lead to questionable calls, very confused calls, eye rolling when, oh my God, you can't hit a player anymore. But it won't be the first time where I didn't like a rule change and then I ended up liking it, right? So we're going to go through some of the rule changes over the last couple of years because there's been a lot of them, right? I mean, baseball specifically. I know you weren't in favor of some of the rule changes last year in baseball. I want to see where you're at now. So, our opinions can change on these rule changes. I'm just telling you right now, when it first came out yesterday, when we were on the air yesterday, that the new kickoff rule is coming, I don't like it. And I'm going to go into it feeling salty next season. But maybe I'll change my opinion. We'll find out. So we'll go through some of the other rule changes over the years, whether we have liked them or not liked them. Adam Schefter joins us at 8 o'clock, all right here. Kincade Salciunas, 97.5, The Fanatic.
Coming up this week in Philadelphia.
up at 8 o'clock, we'll be joined by Adam Schefter, the great Adam Schefter. And we'll be able to talk to him about the new rule changes in the NFL. The challenge, which I don't like. I think I'm 0 for 3. I don't like all.
You really are.
I hate all the changes.
That's funny. You are difficult to please with change.
I'm a critic.
But the thing is, with change, I think we're both learning it. I think you're good with change.
I hate this new job.
But I think you're good with change.
Yes.
Like it's so that it surprises me.
No, look, I think the third challenge, even if you get one of the two wrong, is helping out failure. Like the coaches fail. The challenge is unsuccessful, but don't worry, you got one of the two right, so here's a third.
Well, you're 1-1
like
because you fixed the failure of an official with the other one.
I understand.
So, in other words, they both got one wrong. Let's have a tiebreaker and see who does it.
You know what's going to happen next? Well, if we get all three right, we should get a fourth. That's going to be the next one. Watch. You just wait. There's going to be a fourth challenge in a couple of years.
I don't think I'd be against that.
Come on. We can't over-challenge everything.
Unlimited challenges.
It's going to be Madden replay. Like, come on, man. It's too much.
The idea, and we won't get into it today because we're not going to get off track. The idea of not wanting to get it right, to me, just fascinating.
Okay. What rule changes did you not like, but then maybe you eventually turned on? Now, I did not like the bases from last year in Major League Baseball. I thought they were too big.
I did not like that either.
Once the season started, I couldn't tell a difference. It was fine.
I was anti that when I read it, and I will tell you that it never once really crossed my mind that the bags were too big.
Never bothered.
Never bothered me.
I was pro pitch clock.
I was absolutely triple pro pitch clock.
So you were pro, okay?
And I love it.
Yeah, it's great.
I love it. I love being able to, honestly, doing this job, and you'll find it out this year.
Mm-hmm.
The games ended very often between 9:08 and 9:25. Like, it was wonderful.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. What banning of the shift.
I ridiculously hate that.
So
hate it.
I hate it because it took away a strategic element, but it did get over the top at times, and then it did make the game wrong. The third baseman's got to run over the other side of the field.
Why did it get over the top?
It got over the top when you're putting 4 outfielders out there.
Why?
I just thought it became a little over the top.
I don't understand. That's a strategy that someone decided to. That's like somebody saying
the banning of the shift.
Absolutely.
That's like someone saying like the tush push.
Right.
Oh, it's too much. There's nothing that
it's their strategy.
It's just something they did with strategy.
How about this one?
Go ahead.
If you were a basketball team, wouldn't you just stand the tallest player underneath the rim to defend any layup? But instead, 3 seconds in the key.
I get it. I get where you're going at with that.
You can't play certain ways because it changes the product. And they decided that the shift wasn't an advantage. For sure, it's strategic, but it's too much of a strategy that's changing the product.
Yeah, but you don't have to. If you see that it's different. There's only one way to score in basketball. You got to go to that rim. In baseball, if you say, "Oh, we're loading up over here," that opens up 2/3 of the field for you.
Okay, well,
which they don't teach that. And instead of going,
I'm so tired of that. Yes.
Hold on. Instead of going the opposite field, it then turned into, well, let's just try to hit home runs because I could hit a screaming liner in the right center, but the second baseman's playing 150 feet out there, and he'll either catch it or get it off a hop.
I love the fact that we now are like, players today can't adjust to being able to, take the ball the other way. Well, they're not taught that nowadays.
They're not taught it, man.
That is such a load of garbage.
Well, it's the same thing with bunting. They don't teach that anymore.
They don't teach
Everybody complains, how come the cleanup hitter doesn't bunt?
Why do they not teach bunting?
Because
front offices have a room full of snurdlies that sit there and look in front.
Well, the computer says it would be better if you did this. So let's do the analysis and look at it.
No, that's why they don't do it.
Okay.
Now that is why they do not do it.
Now, so you did not like the addition to the three-point line because it's changed how basketball is
I think three-point line's just too easy.
Okay.
So
it's not that you want to change that? You want to expand the court?
I'd be fine.
Bring it back more?
I'd like to see it a
Here
little
we
bit
go,
more
too. 3-point line's too easy. We need to see a Kincade three-pointer at Knockout tonight.
Exactly. Let's put you on the spot.
I'm not an NBA player. I'm not seeing these guys shooting them. It's too easy. It's too easy. It's too much of it because analytics tells us if we take 3 3-pointers, then that gives us a better chance
I think
to
you
score.
and I will have a lot of thoughts where we agree when it comes to analytics.
Absolutely.
Because I'm anti-analytics. I'm a caveman when it comes to that. Was there ever a rule that you thought you liked, and then it ended up not? You didn't end up liking it.
I thought I liked the extra wild card, and I don't like it.
I love it.
I don't.
I love it because it
I don't. I saw third-place teams putting up plastic and spraying each other with champagne after 162.
Well, you're also anti-party when it comes to winning a wild card
Well, it's
spot.
interesting. I said when the Flyers clinch the playoffs, get the champagne bottles out. You finish third in your division.
Okay.
Spray the champagne. No.
Let's go. You made the playoffs.
No. The Eagles win the NFC East. Get the champagne out.
Playoffs are better than regular season, ultimately. And so more playoffs. Now, I
didn't dig it.
I do think that maybe Major League Baseball should cut down some of the regular season games and expand the playoffs even more. Instead of a 2-game wild card or a best of 5 DS, it should be 7-7-7-7 or 5-7-7-7.
Well, the only things you can't make, the one thing I don't like about baseball is when they added the extra wild card. I don't like the fact that the teams sit around for a week.
The buy round.
I don't like.
So that's a rule that you liked at first, and then
was like, don't like it. Yeah,
so we'll see. We'll see how these NFL rules play out. We'll talk about these rules with the great Adam Schefter, who's going to be joining us coming up next. What went into the rule changes? Is it because of player safety? Is it because of product? Is it because of always trying to bring new elements to grab more attention? Could that be a part of it? So what went into the rule changes? What is still to come with the Eagles this offseason? Jeff McClain yesterday told us that he does not expect James Bradbury to be on this roster because that's not something Howie Roseman would do. So are the Eagles still on the cornerback market? There's a lot of stuff to talk about with Adam Schefter. He joins us to start the 8 o'clock hour next on Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Welcome in Kincade Salciunas. And joining us on the Comcast Business Hotline, a great, great man, an incredible worker. I know he's a good basketball mind as well. I followed along the years when you and Bobby would ask him about his fantasy basketball team. And he's brought to us by Landis Block. Create your very own jaw-dropping backyard paradise online at landisbc.com. That, of course, the great Adam Schefter. Adam, how you doing today? Good morning.
Good morning. How are we doing today?
We're doing good. Now, normally when we have you on, the first thing that we talk about is the Eagles, the state of the Eagles, what's coming up next, what moves are they going to make, what is Howie cooking up. But we had some big news in the NFL yesterday with the new rule changes. Would love to go through them with you and get your thoughts on them. The change to the kickoff, what is going into that the most? Is it more so player safety, or is it an added element in terms of entertainment with the NFL?
Well, both, right?
Yeah.
Basically, you saw only 22% of kicks returned last year, 22%. And the league was looking to increase that because it had become a play that was really a non-factor. There were no kickoff returns in the Super Bowl at all. The league wanted to see more returns. And on top of that, they felt like this would be a safer play, more akin to a running and passing play, because the guys are basically lining up opposite each other as they would on a running or passing play, and they can't start until the ball is in play when a receiver touches it, right? So, yes, it is mimicked from the XFL, but they believe it's going to increase the rate of return. It's going to, in the league's opinion, help with safety. It's also going to improve field position for teams, which is going to lead to more points, which the league always wants. So when you look at it, I don't think there's anything in there that the league would have objected to. In addition to the fact that I think without a rule change like this, it's possible that the kickoff could have just gone away. Like, there was talk that it would go by the wayside. Like, that would be the end of the play. And that's not what happened. So this is, I guess, their way to preserve it, if that makes sense.
So why are the teams so into it? Is it mainly that field position battle? Because, only 3 teams voted against it. So that means, 29 of the 32 teams were in favor of this.
Well, I think basically what you're looking at is it's so radical. Radical was the word that Mike Tomlin used, that it's hard sometimes for teams to wrap themselves around something like this and vote for it. Plus, honestly, I think coaches feel like they're under a lot of pressure as it is. There's a lot to have to sift and sort through during the course of a game. And now you're adding in one more thing, like one more way that you have to devote your time, figure out the rules, expose yourself to criticism. Somebody's going to do something on a kickoff that you didn't realize. And it's just one added layer. It's the unknown. Who likes the unknown when you have what is known? Not many people. And coaches don't. They like to know exactly what they're dealing with.
Andrew hates the third challenge. I love the third challenge. And he doesn't like the third challenge when it comes to one. You only got to get one of your first two right.
Yeah, I'm pro if you get both right. But now I feel like, all right, you failed one time, but don't worry, here's a third.
I'm all for getting it right, and whatever helps them get it right more. Where do you fall on that, and where do you think most people around the NFL fall on it?
Well, in terms of the third challenge, I haven't heard as much conversation about that. Like, I think coaches probably always like to have extra challenges.
Sure.
Right? I mean, to me, that's how they would go about it. So, I haven't heard as much about that this week. That doesn't seem to have dominated the conversation.
So what has been talked about a lot at the owners' meetings? I know there was another rule that wasn't passed that the Eagles have been pushing for, I think, the last couple of years now, getting rid of the onside kick and then and doing a a do or die 4th and 20. Is that something that we could see down the road? How is that getting some steam around the league?
I haven't heard that getting steam either, the 4th and 20 play. Like, the things that get steam, they get voted on.
Okay.
And the kickoff was voted on. And the trade deadline was voted on. Those are the things that got everybody's attention, and they're moving forward. The other stuff, it's just kind of like put out there into the netherworld. Like, maybe one day it comes up, maybe it doesn't. But it doesn't look like it's on tap this year right now.
Christmas weekday game. Now, I saw that the highest rated game ever on Christmas Day in any sport was the Eagles and the Giants. So it makes sense. But then you have to shift the teams to play on the Saturday beforehand. That's sort of the setup.
Well, that's what's going to happen here. Basically, they're going to play, my understanding is 2 or 3 games on Saturday, December 21st, as they would at that time of the year anyway, right? And whoever plays on Saturday, December 21st, is going to play on Wednesday, December 25th. And the way that the league is looking at it is like, if you play on Saturday, it's the equivalent of a Sunday, Thursday regimen. So this is going to be Saturday, Wednesday instead of Sunday, Thursday. And that's basically where we're at.
So we're talking about like a one game doubleheader, triple header. We had triple header this year on Christmas.
It's on Christmas. It's a doubleheader this year.
Okay, because last year was a triple. So it's just this. It worked.
Well,
it worked, right?
Well, of course, they're taking a bite from the NBA playbook. They're not letting the NBA have Christmas to itself, right? So basically, the league saw the numbers. The league saw the success that the Christmas Day games had last year when they had a triple header, and they're like, I don't care that it's Wednesday. We're not giving that up again.
Now,
so that's what they did. Just they're tailoring the schedule to make it work.
We're speaking to Adam Schefter on the Comcast Business Hotline. Now, 2 of the Eagles, Shefty, we're still waiting on a couple of players defensively to find out the futures of. Obviously, Hassan Reddick, we talked to you about him last week. Anything new with Hassan Reddick? And what do you think the Eagles' direction will be with James Bradbury? Are they going to keep him as their starting outside corner, or are they going to be in the market for another one or focus on that in the draft?
Well, I think you're always looking in the draft. I haven't heard much talk of moving on from Bradbury yet. Reddick, we know that if they got the right offer, they would move him. If the right offer's out there, my guess is eventually he'll get traded. I don't know when, I don't know where, but eventually that's going to come to pass. Bradbury, I haven't heard as much conversation about. Again, I think they're always looking to upgrade everything. That's just what they do. That's the nature of the team and the people. And we'll see how that figures in with Bradbury.
Now they're due to pay the bonus coming up on April 1st for Hassan Reddick. They pushed that date back. That's Monday morning. I mean, that's going to be Monday while we're all sleeping. That comes in. So I'm shocked that nothing has happened, and it makes me sort of semi-optimistic that something could get worked out.
I have to check on it. I don't have the answer to that right now. So I can't answer, but that is interesting, and so they're going to need to get resolution by then.
Shefty, Howie Roseman spoke the other day. The owners' meeting's obviously going on right now in Orlando, and he was asked about the Saquon Barkley signing. And he talked about part of the reason why they signed Barkley was because of the pendulum swing, right? Now all of a sudden teams don't value running backs as much. So Howie goes, well, then I'm going to go after one of the better players. I'm going to get great talent on this team. Is there going to be another pendulum swing at some point in the NFL? We see linebackers have changed a lot. We see cornerbacks have changed a lot. Maybe not as aggressive corners, but that might have to change with the banning of the hip drop tackle. Is there another pendulum swing that you could foresee in the NFL sometime soon?
Well, let me say this about the running backs. In talking to some people, I think that one of the reasons the running backs went the way they did this year, as quickly as they did, is, to your point, the pendulum had swung to where the value had dropped, to where it made it affordable, to where it made it such that the teams felt like it was a good deal and a good value to go after some of these running backs. But additionally, when you talk to front office executives across the league, they don't believe that there's going to be a running back picked in the first round this year. They wonder if there'll be a running back taken in the second round. So if you have any sort of need at the running back position, not only is there some sort of value in free agency, but you're not going to be able, in the eyes of teams, to be assured of getting a top-flight running back in the draft. Now, last year, we saw Bijan Robinson and Jahmyr Gibbs go relatively early in the draft, and both turned out to be good players last year and looked like wise picks. Teams aren't going to have that option this year with running backs at that spot. So if you needed help there, or you felt like there was a value there, or you felt both were true, then that was the time to go get these guys. And that, I believe, is why running backs flew off the board during free agency. And all of a sudden, we had Saquon going to Philly and Tony Pollard leaving Dallas to go to Tennessee and Josh Jacobs leaving Las Vegas to go to Green Bay, Aaron Jones going to Minnesota, Derrick Henry going to Baltimore. There was a lot of movement. I think the smart teams recognized that it was in their best interest to go add a running back that they wouldn't be able to get in the draft. And that's, I think, what happened here.
It's been at these meetings, is this where Howie is laying the groundwork for potential draft day trades, or does that stuff come a little bit later as we're around 4 weeks out of the draft?
Yeah, I didn't see Howie down here at all, which is odd. I didn't see Howie. I didn't see Nick.
Yeah, Nick missed the coach's picture again. He keeps.
I never saw it. I thought of it last night because most people left last night. I'm still down here and flying home this morning, and I was thinking of people I didn't get to see that I wanted to, and I didn't see Nick or Howie down here at all. So never saw them.
Interesting.
And kind of weird you're in the same hotel, but I guess that happens. And
they may be avoiding.
It's a big hotel.
Did they avoid you? I don't know.
Yeah, that's probably true, John. They probably are avoiding me, I would think. Yes.
By the way, can you answer any rumors regarding Jason Kelce and Monday Night Football?
What are the rumors?
That your employer, ESPN, would love to have Jason Kelce as part of the Monday Night Football presentation in some way, shape, or form.
Well, I think I would say that every network would probably love to have Jason Kelce, right?
I think it would be a slam dunk hire.
I think, to my knowledge, I don't think I'm giving away. I think everybody's spoken to him, and I'm sure everybody wants him. And I think everybody's waiting for a decision from Jason Kelce.
All right. Now, last thing before we let you go, one of the other rule changes, the hip drop tackle, Shefty. Do you think once the season starts, will we even it's been talked about a lot. Players have voiced their frustration with it. It's been all over ESPN. We've talked about it a lot here on the show. Is this something that we might still talk about as the season progresses, or do you think this eventually just goes away and we almost forget about it?
No, I don't think it's going away. I don't know that it's going to be front and center as a topic of a conversation. But what I would say is, like, what people don't realize is, and the way I've interpreted it, is that the league almost feels like it doesn't want to enforce that during the game unless it's blatant and obvious. Like, there's a blatant hip drop tackle that looks like it's a bad play and looks like there's intent to injure. It's going to get penalized during the game as it might have in the past for unnecessary roughness. But what the league is going to be doing here, and it's another issue for defensive players to have to figure out and deal with, is when it sees what it perceives to be hip drop tackles, the league is going to be sending letters to players warning them or fining them after the fact. So I don't know yet, and I don't know the league knows yet, how much it's going to be penalized in-game. I think it's sort of like a message, hey, don't do this. We're going to be watching for this. Defensive players will be mindful of this. But how much it's actually going to be penalized during the course of the games, we'll see.
Shefty, thanks as always for coming on. We always enjoy your conversations. Can't wait to talk to you again next week.
Enjoy It's a Small World.
Yeah, well, we're going to skip that. Listen, I'll tell you a funny story. I had taken my family to the owners' meetings in Orlando twice before. And and we haven't been back, the owners haven't been back to Orlando since 2018, so 6 years ago. And I don't think I took my family then, so the last time would have been 2014, so we're talking 10 years ago. So this gentleman the other day was carrying one of my bags up to the room, and the bellhop, his name was Andrew, and he said, hey, how's your family? Now, it's not often that, the bellhop is asking you about your family. And I said, well, I looked at him, I'm like, good, thank you. How come you ask, Andrew? And he said, well, I remember you having your family here a while back.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
And I thought to myself, that's incredible that this guy would remember that all these years later. And he's like, your little girl, she was in a stroller or whatever it was.
Wow.
Yeah, that was amazing to me. I just thought it was very cool. So we tipped him extra, obviously.
Shefty's favorite ride at Disney is what?
Well, when I took, again, I think back to the Pro Bowl moment. I went to the Pro Bowl with my daughter. I took her down there. And you'll know the year, I guess it was 5 years ago. And I took her to the park that day. And I only remember this because that Sunday we were doing the Pro Bowl show, and that was the day, tragically, that Kobe's helicopter crashed.
Wow.
And then it came at the end of the Pro Bowl show, and I'll it's something I'll never forget. But to answer the question about the favorite ride, I had her down there, and we went on Soaring.
It's a great ride.
Nice.
It's a great ride.
Oh my God, that is as good a ride as I've ever been on. I love that ride.
And they've changed it since you were there, so they've updated it.
They have, in what way?
New visuals. It's now soaring around America, around the world, not just California.
Well, no, that's what we did.
So you did the world one. Oh, okay.
We did. Oh, yeah, no, we did the world, and it was the ride ended. I'm like, we're going back on that ride again. Like, it was that good. Like, I got to go do that again. It was incredible.
That's awesome. Shefty, thanks, man. We'll talk to you again next week.
Thank you, guys. Have a great day.
There he is, Adam Schefter on the Comcast Business Hotline. Every day in business, a big day. Let Comcast Business get you ready for what's next. And he's brought to us by Landis Block. Create your very own jaw-dropping backyard paradise online at landisbc.com. He perked up a little bit more when it came to the Disney talk.
They do. Landis Block does great work for you. They are great folks.
Do. All right, it's time now for today's headlines with Connor Thomas.
Today's headlines with Connor Thomas.
Hello, Connor. What do we got?
What's up, boys?
Hello
We
there.
got some good stuff today, and we didn't have it yesterday, so I better bring it. We're going to start with something you guys actually predicted was going to happen. When the Shohei Ohtani news came out, you knew there was going to be a certain former professional baseball player that had something to say about it.
Yeah.
So here are Pete Rose's thoughts on the situation.
Enjoying some March Madness with my great friend Pete Rose, and we were talking about the current goings-on in baseball right now, and Pete wanted to mention something.
Well, back in the 70s and 80s, I wish I'd have had an interpreter. I'd be scot-free.
There you have it from the Hit King.
I knew that was going to be his answer.
Yes, you did. You said it.
That was going to be his answer. I also laugh because I agree with it.
Oh, Pete, just a way only he can say it. Also, speaking of a way only one guy can say something, I don't know if you guys saw this, but as spring training was wrapping up, there was a special moment where a younger kid, well, not young, you'll know from the clip, but a kid was able to manage the Phillies for a day down in spring training. And Nick Castellanos had some words of encouragement for him ahead of his managerial
That's what you call
debut.
it?
Yeah, we'll call it that.
How's the family? How we doing? I'm good. Good. Awesome. I'm great. How's the dog? The English Mastiff, right? Yeah. I also have. So you're manager? Yeah. I will not up.
So I saw it was easier to see the video. He says, so you're managing today because the kid won, what, was it a contest?
Yeah.
Or was it an auction or something?
An auction.
And he says, so you're managing today? And the kid goes, yeah. He goes, yeah, don't bleep this up.
Yes.
Just right to the. No, he's like the 18-year-old kid, it looks like, or something, but.
It's awesome.
Look, I can't believe they're letting that's was available.
No, it's
that's a great thing. No, that's a great thing.
It's awesome.
No, it's a great
for
thing.
The day.
I imagine it went for a pretty price.
I'm sure it did. Oh, absolutely. I'm sure it did.
Yeah, but that's a wonderful moment. I'm sure that kid's not going to forget. And then we have something from you guys earlier today talking about the Eagles' collapse and what happened.
That doesn't explain, though,
why
he's back.
It doesn't explain why they collapsed. He's just saying that they collapsed.
Like, to me, I think Jeffrey Lurie's pretty honest.
Yes.
Like, I think as a guy, he shares with you much more than a lot of other people do. But I expected more of an autopsy on this, and I really expected by now we'd have the Jeff McClain piece, the Tim McManus piece that would say, here is exactly what went on. Somebody's talking. Nobody's talking.
It is surprising that nobody's talked yet. So that's in response to Jeffrey Lurie, who spoke to the media yesterday and talked about how the good teams prevailed last year. The Eagles obviously didn't. But he also talked about why they brought Nick Sirianni back, even though they didn't prevail like the other good teams in the NFL did. So we'll play you some of those clips coming your way next. He talked about why. He was asked straight up. First question thrown to Jeff Lurie was, why is Nick Sirianni back? He answered that.
Please him.
We will play that for you coming your way next. Also, I heard something that Tim Kirkjian said to us yesterday that Buster Olney said to me that a lot of other people have said about the Phillies.
Okay.
And I want to ask our audience, can we handle it? Because it's something that I don't know that we're used to.
Man, I'm intrigued.
And I want you to talk about it with us either on the phones or the text line at 610-632-0975. But I'll tell you what that is next. It's Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Flyers come up short. I'm Connor Thomas with something.
on this Wednesday morning, knockout night. I saw Ray Dunn on 97.5thefanatic.com put out the odds.
He did.
I am the odds-on favorite.
I'm shocked at that.
I am as well, and I hope nobody puts their money on me.
And you usually do pretty well.
Yes, I do usually do pretty well.
You're usually eliminated when there's around 30% of the field left?
Probably less, but
maybe less?
But we'll see. I think it's my not caring that helps.
Imagine
the blood pressure's down.
Imagine getting to play knockout on the Sixers floor.
Yes.
I mean, that's excellent.
It's great.
Imagine the idea of just playing knockout. That's a great idea.
Knockout's a great idea.
That the Fanatics had for a long time. That's great.
But especially
Imagine
on the
that
Wells
idea.
Fargo Center floor.
That's
I mean,
amazing.
that's cool. After a Sixers game, after the return of James Harden.
It's not like
Clippers tonight.
Playing on a CYO floor or something.
No,
You know,
it's just
it's a lot
shame
different.
you guys won't be out
NIT
there.
floor, you know.
Connor,
Sixers.
I'm willing to wager.
Ooh.
And I'm willing to go 2-1
Okay.
that you won't win.
No, so you're
He's
trying
not
to
winning.
you're trying to Otani me. I'm
No,
not
I'm
not betting on this.
No, this
I'm
is
not
logic.
betting on-
I'm willing to go. How about this? If you win, $20 to Connor. If you don't win, $10 to me.
John, I just need you to understand. If I win, it's going to be worth so much more than $20.
So in other words, you don't believe in yourself.
No, I believe in myself. I don't need anything additional than another 365 of being
rooting
able
for
to
you
tell
to
you. all.
lose
By the way,
so hard.
Everybody is.
And there is, just for the listeners, there is one champion of knockout.
Yeah, not
the last
Fanatic
person
champion.
on the court.
Thank you.
There is no such thing as, because we have had Fanatic employees win knockout.
Yes.
And any Fanatic employee that wins knockout is a knockout champion.
Not the
There is no
Fanatic
such
winner.
thing as that. So.
Which somebody, walks around as if he was a champion.
Sounds like
Yes.
two guys who haven't won.
There you go.
All right, so Tim Kirchin joined us yesterday, and he talked about this Phillies team in a similar way that Buster Olney has talked about them. Other national reporters have talked about them, but Kirchin said it on this show. Buster Olney said it with me when I was doing middays on this station. I got this idea when I was down in Clearwater talking to not the players, but Larry Boa, right?
Okay.
Like these, Jason Stark. Jason Stark said it to me that the Phillies are going to be one of the best teams in baseball, okay? Not the National League East, but in baseball. Take a listen to what Tim Kirchin had to say, and then I have a question about our fan base. Go ahead.
I was very, very impressed by the whole Philly operation in Florida. I love that clubhouse. I've told you guys this before. Schwarber, Harper, the rest of those guys bring a collegiate atmosphere to a major league clubhouse, which is unique these days. That team is really good. The Braves are better than them. The Dodgers are better than them. There's no other team in the National League better than the Phillies, other than those two teams right now. And given how well they've done for the most part in the postseason, I think the Phillies are a very dangerous team opening up.
So he has the Phillies as one of the top three teams in the National League, and then it doesn't look like there's anybody really close to that, right?
Right.
So he still has them behind the Dodgers and Braves, which I think is fair. I mean, you look at win totals over the last couple of seasons. Now look at the postseason success. The Phillies have had better than both of those two teams. I have a question for our audience, and I would love to hear from you, 610-632-0975, whether you call in or text in. John.
Yes.
Can we handle it? The city that loves Rocky, that loves being the underdog. Anytime there is a little bit of adversity, somebody calls in and says they need to bring back the underdog masks. Brendan Petrelli, who works at the station, does a lot of great stuff behind the scenes. He came into the Eagles-Bucks game with the underdog mask on. I know we love it here. I want to sometimes be the top dog. I want to go into a season saying, yeah, we're the best. Come beat us, not, oh, we're going to show you. We're going to shock the world. Instead of being little brothers, sometimes I want to be big brother.
Yes.
Can this city handle it?
Yes, because we have some very mature fans in the fan base. I don't
think it's a question of maturity or immaturity.
I do, because part of it is accepting pressure and accepting expectations. When you do the underdog thing over and over again, when players and coaches do everybody doubts us, everybody was against us, nobody believed in us, nobody picked us, nothing worse. you don't want to accept that you might lose. You don't want to play Billy Big Balls and walk in and go, we should win this game.
Right.
Anything less should be unacceptable.
Which the Phillies should this year.
I think a ton of our fan base would rather do we're underdogs. Because then if you don't win, it's a soft landing of, well, we weren't expected to win. No, this Phillies team with a top 3 or 4 payroll.
We're doing World Series or bust.
This team should be 95 wins, I think should be the floor. And I do believe you should expect that they are playing in the Final Four.
Yeah.
Anything less than the Final Four, to me, should sort of be unacceptable.
Well, it's another step back. And that's why I asked that question yesterday, that if they do take another step back, do you change the core up a little bit?
I absolutely would see it.
Which I
3 years in a
offended
row,
somebody asking that question.
Which is crazy. You weren't saying it was going to happen.
No, I was
You're
just asking
the question philosophically. And by the way, that's another one of that little brother syndrome. Oh, my gosh, somebody says, you're being negative opening week. No, you're being objective. This team should have sky-high expectations. And anything less can't be spun as, well, we got off to a bad start. Well, all you got to do is get in. Let's just get in. Ask the Phillies players. I'll be down there at batting practice opening day. And I promise you this. You don't go to any player on the Phillies sideline or the Braves side. Go to their side, go to the Braves side, and ask, so, are you okay just being the wild card this year? Hell no.
No, they want to win the division.
They would look at you like you're an idiot. Now, if circumstance puts you in a position where you go, okay, we've had injuries, we've had this.
Right.
All we got to do is get in. And you say that in July and August, completely different thing. Not one player in either club is going, well, all we got to do is get in.
So
that is a fan thing that fans say that players would roll their eyes at you about.
Well, I'm kind of confused because I feel like you gave 2 answers. Do you think we can handle being top dog? You say there are a lot of mature fans, but then you start talking about...
No, I think there's a faction that just always wants to do the underdog masks.
Okay, so it's not the majority.
No, I don't believe that's a majority. I believe we have a very intelligent fan base here that realizes this team's really good, and they should be expected to be really good. So I absolutely believe we can handle it.
I just don't know how, I think we're so used to being underdogs. We're so used to the us against the world. Man, you and I agree, the biggest lie in the world is no one likes us, we don't care.
Biggest lie.
It's the biggest
It's exactly the opposite. We can quote chapter and verse. And if before an Eagles game, here's one I'll tell you. If a game is hanging in the balance, just watch your Twitter feed, social media, and say, oh, they all picked against us.
Right.
Oh, look, every one of them on the panel picked it. Who cares?
So
Who cares?
you think we can? Connor,
yes.
Can we as Philadelphians handle being the top dog when I feel like people love being the underdog in this city? And forget the Rocky thing, but you just look at the last couple of years in sports, people love being the underdog in this city.
Here's why we can't handle it yet. I think we can, and I don't think it's the fan base's fault. We still don't have championships. We don't. Compared to the other teams and cities that are great, you don't win the big one enough. So,
50 years since the ice, 40 years since the hardwood.
No, let's go to baseball. You absolutely do. You have hand over Atlanta every day of the week. But people are still like, well, Atlanta's better.
No, John, it's not Atlanta. It's not Philly versus them. It's the feel of, do we deserve this? And until you have the parade, as good as the team is, it's going to be hard to shift the mentality of this city. You could feel like you're not the underdog in a season, but for the fan base to be comfortable with it, you have to win. You have to win consistently, and you have to have championships. And we're missing that last component.
It's 15 years since the Yankees. 15.
And they have 27.
No, it's 15.
But they can hang their hat on track record. We can't.
Well, they're going to go. Then they're becoming Dallas Cowboy fans if they're doing that. You're 15 years out of winning a championship. No Knicks, no Rangers, no Yankees.
Couple of Giants.
Giants was what, 2011?
The last
That's
one, yeah.
13 years. The Philadelphia can do the same thing about titles. Can say, yeah, we've had titles in this and that. We're leaning on the same.
As many.
But it's not the freaking History Channel. It's modern day.
Right.
And in modern day, expectations can change.
But history creates mentality. You got to break that cycle by proving you're different, and championships are the only way to do that.
The New England Patriots were the worst team in attendance, I believe, the year or two before they won the Super Bowl.
With Brady.
They were the worst team in attendance.
Yeah, and then it changed.
And then all of a sudden, everybody's a Patriots fan. Things do change, and then there was a lot of winning. But you just look at what I would say is here, we've been also treated to some extended periods of winning with down periods, but the Eagles have given you nothing for a quarter century but winning, but being in that mix.
Okay.
I don't like the underdog thing when it comes to the Eagles. I thought it was an underdog the year when Wentz went down. I totally
and
get
we all
it.
bought into it. But we always
get that.
people try to bring it back, right?
No.
That's why I asked the question, can we handle it? Because every time there's a bit of adversity, it's bring back the masks.
We don't need it.
It's Lane Johnson tweeting it out himself. Lane Johnson tweets the gif of him wearing the mask. I mean, it's something that I think people believe is our identity. And so I don't know if we can handle
I think it's a security blanket.
Is this it says on the screen of a good text. Is this about the all right, what do we got?
Yeah, so we've got one from, so this is Mark and Delco. Says, I think to a certain extent we'll always be little brother due to our neighbors, New York and Boston to the north. So clearly there's people in the fan base that still compare themselves lesser than to those bigger, well, not bigger cities because Boston, but to those other cities.
So even that's a Philadelphia fan right there. I don't know if we can handle being top dog.
I think we can.
And the Phillies are. We should hold them to a higher standard.
Yes, we should. But we don't. But we haven't.
But we haven't.
The overall is let's just love on them.
I think
Let's
this
put our
year
arms
we
around
should
them.
handle them differently. And that's
Yes.
not being negative.
No.
That's just, hey, this team is supposed to be one of the best teams in baseball. Take it. The guys that have been covering this league forever, Kirkchin, Stark, Alney, they are telling you this.
Own it.
Own it. That's why I
Wear
want to
it.
say, let's be top dogs for once. Enough with the underdog mentality.
Wear it.
All right, coming up next, I mentioned to you that I offended a fan yesterday.
It's not a first.
We're going to have an on-air show meeting, you and I, and Connor. All right? An on-air show meeting next segment. Also, I got some news about tomorrow's opener, if it happens. I'll tell you what that is next. You might love hearing it. You might stand and applaud. It's Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Tomorrow, the Phillies open the 20.
up at 9 o'clock on Kincade and Salciunas. So I'm going to have to find out, where's the steak dinner for Giant of the K.
Yeah, I mean, that has to happen.
He owes you his entire career. Even his playing career, I heard he owes.
No, he doesn't know. He doesn't know any of that. He doesn't know any of that.
So Jeff's going to join us at 9 o'clock to talk about the upcoming Philly season, but also Phillies Braves. He's got ties with both teams, obviously, and Phillies Braves is the start of the 2024 Major League season for both those two teams, and hopefully it's tomorrow. Now, some news. According, and I think we could trust the source, according to Jason Kelce.
Okay, that's really a good source.
On the New Heights podcast.
Yes.
Jason Kelce and Fletcher Cox will be throwing out the first pitch tomorrow.
Okay, that's awesome.
Credit to John Brazier, I imagine.
What a great decision.
John Brazier is awesome. He's the guy that sets up a lot of stuff.
He's a power broker.
He is. And so Jason Kelce and Fletcher Cox will be throwing out the ceremonial first pitch tomorrow. I hope the game is tomorrow. That'd be great. But those two guys, I mean, that's the ovation that they will get. And think about it. Opening day, because of all the festivities that happen,
yes,
people are in their seats before the game starts, right? It's not like a June 1st where you might be out in Ashburn Alley a little bit because the players do the walk on the field and they do the big introductions, like up the foul lines. Like, that's a beautiful thing.
That's a big deal.
People will be in their seats. It is going to be so loud when those two guys walk out on the field.
What a great decision.
It's a shame that it's still coming off of the collapse that it was. But when those two guys, look, they're retired. They're done, but they're forever Eagles. Those two guys, it's going to be loud, dude.
I believe in now Connor doesn't watch news.
Not a news. No, he's anti-news.
But Cecily Tynan is of the belief that tomorrow they'll go.
I sure hope so.
That it's going to go more off the coast, so it's going to be less of an event.
Okay.
I would just say this. Why go when Friday is clear?
Yeah, I know.
Friday's clear.
Well, they ran into that issue last year, and they made the move, and then Thursday ended up being nicer, remember?
It ended up being a nicer day. There's not to me, I just don't know why you go. We know Friday, Saturday, and Sunday are going to be completely dry.
Right. Just don't say it too loud because I might not be able to have as much fun on Friday.
Uh-oh.
So, all right.
Yeah.
Daycare's closed on Good Friday.
Oh,
so,
that's not good.
I got.
That's not a Good Friday.
So Thursday, let's keep it Thursday. Let's just keep pushing the storm out. We have that power, right?
I'm going to trust that Cecily's got a handle on it. But hopefully they don't make the call tomorrow. Tomorrow morning.
It should be today. If they're going to move it to Friday, because people need to know what their plans are, especially
if they're skipping work.
It's an afternoon game.
Right, exactly.
All right, so we're going to have a show meeting on the air.
All right.
The three of us.
All right.
Over the next couple minutes.
You're coming to this one?
Inside joke. I like that one.
It's not really nice, Connor. It's
Sorry.
not really nice.
I apologize.
All right, so yesterday,
all right,
we did the conversation about make or break. 2024's make or break for who or for what. All right, it was a great topic that you came up with, John. And I had the question about the Phillies core. Like, if they take another step back, which is NLDS, or maybe they just...
No, they lose in the NLDS.
Let's say they get swept in the NLCS, something like that, right?
Okay.
And it's similar reasons, right? They can't get bat on ball. Castellanos has one hit in a series again.
Your biggest stars don't perform down the stretch.
Stars, it has nothing to do with Johan Rojas. It's the
Harper,
big name
Turner,
players.
and them don't show up.
So I asked the question, do you keep the core intact? And now that minus Harper, Turner, because they've signed 10-year deals.
Here.
They're here. But Schwarber would have 1 year left. Castellanos would have 2 years left. I think Real Muto would have 2 years left. And I asked, hey, if it happens, and this was off of the topic that we had. I didn't just say, hey, with opening day coming up,
let's come up with a negative topic.
Right. It was based off of the topic that we had. And somebody was very upset that I even asked that question 2 days before the start of the regular season. He was very upset. And then he went in, this is why the media, blah. So I got to ask you guys, going into seasons, should we just be holly jolly all the time?
No, you're asking me. I mean, seriously, it's ridiculous. No.
Now, I will tell you tomorrow, if the game is still on for tomorrow, it's baseball.
It's opening day.
It's opening day.
Fun.
It's happy.
Yes.
But on the Tuesday, 2 days before opening day, am I supposed to how much time am I supposed to just be holly jolly?
It is okay to ask legitimate questions and to say, because there is what you're acknowledging is exactly what we talked about before. There's a lot of pressure on this team to succeed.
Yes. And I think that they will succeed.
And I do too. So, I mean, that's the bottom line. But there's a hell of a lot of pressure on them to succeed. And to just assume, oh, yeah, they're going to handle it, when the last 2 years,
that they didn't,
when the pressure was the most, they absolutely turtled 2 years in a row.
Mr. Producer, so when we lead up to the Eagles season, the week up, Monday through Thursday and then Friday game day, are we just 17-0 EAGLES for 5 days?
No, that's not how this works. You have to view the possibilities either way.
Well, then blame Connor because he's the one telling us not to do it.
I mean, yeah, you can put it on me. But with every positive, even the most positive season in the history of the city, there was always a potential that something went wrong, that there was some negative. And to understand what you could gain from the positive, you have to understand what's at risk with the negative, which is why we had that conversation.
I think that's a great way of stating it.
I just don't understand.
That semester at Oxford paid off.
I just don't understand why we get so upset sometimes.
Because I think, first of all, I think it's social media. Is that people will take a soundbite and they will not take context.
Right.
So they don't know they don't know the context. The context was not let's be negative.
Yeah, let's be negative.
It was in fact just the opposite. And by the way, it was still a legitimate question today.
Yes. Wow, look at that. Legitimate question. I'm getting kudos thrown by John Kincade. I appreciate it.
I'm throwing you all my props.
Well, coming up next, hopefully he throws props to you. The man who John Kincade created. Are you his dad? I don't know. Did you create him that way?
I don't think I did. I know Mr. Francoeur, and he kicked my ass.
Jeff Francoeur joins us to start the 9 o'clock hour to talk about the upcoming MLB season, his thoughts on the Phillies going into 2024, his thoughts on this race to win the NL East, because, John, I don't know. We'll find out tomorrow, I guess, whether you're still on the fence or not, of whether or not the Phillies will win the division. So we go into some great baseball talk with Jeff Francoeur to start the 9 o'clock hour. Still a lot in store for you on Kincade Salciunas right here, 97.5 The Fanatic. Salciunas. I'm Andrew Salciunas alongside John Kincade. And joining us now on the Comcast Business Hotline. Every day in business is a big day. Let Comcast Business get you ready for what's next. We're going to be joined now by a man who's played for both squads that will be playing tomorrow, hopefully, weather permitting, and just knows baseball inside and out. And that, of course, is the great Jeff Francoeur. Now, Jeff, before I ask you any baseball questions, okay? So it's a new show. This is show number 8. And even though John's already stabbed me in the back because I don't want Johan Rojas starting, I got to do my man a solid, and I got to ask, where is his steak dinner? And how come you have not done a 40-minute press conference like Jason Kelsey thanking him for the start in your career, Jeff?
Hey, I got to give him credit. He honestly pushed me to do what I'm doing. He told me, I think you'd be good at it. If it's something you want to do, I got to give him a little credit for that. He owes me that, and I do own a steak dinner. We're going to have to get Del Frisco's one of these times I come in for one of these Tuesday games and get the butter cake.
It's not an Otani thing either with the two of us. It was a football thing.
No.
It was Eagles-Falcons.
Oh, was it? That's awesome.
It was Eagles-Falcons. So just a friendly dinner.
It was Eagles-Falcons, but we got Kirk Cousins, and as a Falcons fan, it's the first time I've been excited in about 5 years.
Wow, my condolences if you're excited over Kirk Cousins, man. Mr. One playoff win.
Well, is it better? Would you rather have Desmond Ritter or Kirk Cousins?
I'd rather start over.
Okay. Well, we started over. We got some good talent at other positions. We just needed someone that can actually get the ball down the field.
He'll do that.
He'll do that. He'll put up good numbers for you guys. All right, Jeff. So we're really excited for a new season of baseball in general. Big baseball fans here on the show, but we're really excited for Phillies baseball because we're going into another year with high expectations. First, would love to get your thoughts on how last year ended for the Phillies and how you think that will impact their mentality going into this year.
Well, I can tell you this, man. I have been a lot of places. I've played, seen a lot of games. Calling games 6 and 7 up there was just I couldn't believe what I saw, honestly. I mean, I thought for sure, after what Philly did to Atlanta and really what they did in the first 5 games to the Diamondbacks, that they're going to win. And they did. That's part of the game. It happens. I think, though, look, I think you're going to have a hungry team for the Phillies. They have so many pros, so many guys that know how to do it. I love Rob. I think at the end of the day, I continue to say this. If the Braves, Phillies, or Dodgers are not representing the National League in the World Series, I would be completely shocked. I really would. But I would have told you last year I didn't think the Diamondbacks would. So it's baseball and it can happen. But, man, let me tell you, this Braves-Phillies rivalry is getting good. I mean, these are – I told someone the other day, if you really think about it, 14 out of the 18 guys probably that will step foot tomorrow can make an all-star team, can be a all-star player. And there's not many teams where you have those kind of numbers where that could happen.
I'm well-versed in both cities, and I am absolutely looking at it as I got to say I believe the Phillies are living a little rent-free in the Braves' heads. Not in the Braves' players' heads, more in the city, the fan base. It seems as if the last 2 years there's been some mojo on the Phillies' side. Is that just fan talk, or did you see something? Or do you believe that maybe roster construction or something?
I think it's like, look, the Braves won the World Series 3 years ago. Then 2 years ago, you know what? They had some injuries during the playoffs, and Philly knocked them out. And I think it's like anything. Hey, we won last year. This stuff happens. The Braves, if you remember that year, had to battle back to win the division. They got off to a horrible start. Last year was a different story. I mean, they dominated from game 1, really, till the end of the season with the division and had the best offense in baseball, this and that. And then really got held to, 8 runs in 4 games. And I think 7 earned. I think one of them was unearned. And so you really start digging in. I think for Braves fans, I think they didn't love the idea. Look, as well as I do, when Bryce Harper comes down here, he gets booed every time. And, so I think him being a part of that rivalry now definitely affects it. But again, man, these two teams are so evenly matched in so many ways that, I just love when these two teams get a chance to play each other. And when you think about the pitching matchups this weekend, I mean, how awesome is that? I mean, Strider and Wheeler. I tell you what, if I'm a hitter, even though the Braves and Phillies both have two of the best offenses, if I'm a hitter on opening day, I'm like, dang, man, why did we have to get this draw for opening day? And so I think this is going to be a great matchup all year. One of them's going to win the division. The other's going to, let's be honest, be probably the top wild card seed. So, you know what? It's going to be a lot of fun to see how this turns out.
Speaking of the rotation, you've had a chance to see Ranger Suarez pitch against the Braves a couple of times now in the playoffs. He's still not that well-known name across Major League Baseball. I imagine that there's a fan that's a fan of the Texas Rangers that has no idea who Ranger Suarez is. We're expecting big things out of him this year because he's finally had a healthy spring training. Talk about Ranger a little bit and how dominant he could be as a pitcher, especially as a number 3 in a rotation.
Well, I hope the one thing Rob Thompson is able to do with him this year, guys, is, and I get the playoffs is different and your leash is shorter, but let this guy go out there and throw 6-7 innings every 5 days because I think he's built for it. He's got the demeanor for it. And I've said it, like, people think Ranger Suarez is almost like a thumber sometimes because of the high velocities days. And I'm like, dude, this guy can paint 94 all day on you. And so I'm like, this isn't this guy that's throwing 88, 89, tricking people, right? Like, he comes after you, and I think he's one of the most underrated pitchers in all of baseball. And look, when you're behind Wheeler, you're behind Nola, those guys are going to get a lot of the accolades. But you go ask anybody in that Phillies clubhouse, they know they're not going to get where they want without Ranger Suarez putting a good year together. And so I love his makeup, man, and I think he's going to have a huge year.
Jeff Francoeur from Fox Sports joining us here on Kincade Salciunas. So give me this, Jeff. If the Phillies are to win the division, do you believe it will be more about what they do or what the Braves don't do?
I think it'll be more of what they do. Look, I think the Braves are going to score runs. Again, this is an offense, you know it, that is built to score a lot of runs. And I think the Braves are going to win upwards of the high 90s and possibly right at that 100-game mark. So I think it's going to be more of Philly taking that next step, being able to do it all year, right? Like, we know the postseason, they've shown the ability to kind of turn it on and take that to the next level. So I think it's going to be more of the Phillies play consistent and better year-round than the Braves taking a step back. I don't know that the Braves offensively with what they have, and of course with Strider, a lot of people don't talk about this guy. Freed's on a free agent year, so he's going to want to rack up and have a huge year. So I think it's more of what the Phillies are going to be able to do if they win the division.
Jeff, there weren't really many position battles in spring training here in Philadelphia, but it looks like Yohan Rojas will be the starting center fielder. Now, my opinion is to let him start out in AAA a little bit, but John wants him to give him 2 months, and I understand why. His glove is incredible. Would love to get your thoughts on having a guy out there who his glove is so good, but his bat could lack to a point where he's batting 150. Does that matter to you, or do you just kind of throw him out to the wolves?
It doesn't matter at first, right? Like, if that kid can keep his head above water, say he hit 210, 220, run a little bit, be able to put the ball in play, because that was the main thing, right, during the playoffs. He was striking out at a high rate. Guys were taking advantage of that. And so, again, I say throughout a whole season, look, Philly's lineup is so stacked that it's like, it kind of reminds me of what Kelnick is for the Braves down here a little bit right now. Like, just play good defense and keep your head above water, right? Like, okay, you might get dominated by Strider opening day. All right? No problem. But when you face the 3s, 4s, and 5s in rotations, just give me a couple hits here and there. Stay up your head above water. And I trust me, I know what you're saying because I watched it all postseason. I mean, he got dominated pretty good. But with the length of the Phillies lineup, you feel like, okay, we need his defense out there more than anything. And so it's like, just keep your head above water. Learn how to hit at this level as the year goes on. But agreed. If it's all of a sudden early May, mid-May, and you're hitting 150, that's going to be where they're going to have to make a decision. Like, is this counterproductive for this kid?
Watching the Pure Athlete podcast that you're with explode has been really, really cool. And what I love about it most, Jeff, is you just don't talk baseball. You talk all sports, because you and I have probably talked over the years as much about baseball as we do about football or basketball or otherwise. Tell us a little bit more about what you've got going on with Pure Athlete.
Man, we've had some great things. We're going to do a live one down here at some point with a big name in Atlanta. And really, guys, it's all about, right, like when you have kids, you want your kids to obviously excel at what they're doing, but you want to learn life lessons. How to work, how to be a great teammate, how to overcome failure. Like that, those are things you want for your kid. And then when you're 16, 17, 18, okay, now if you have the ability to take it to the next level, let's do it. We had Big Ryan, man. Howard came on with us. And I loved, he was talking about slumps and overcoming that. Here's a guy that, he didn't go to a big SEC Pac-10 school for baseball. He didn't. And all of a sudden, look at him. He's one of the great first basemen of the last 30 years. So it's been so much fun. And, I've said it from day one. I know it's no different in the Philly area than it is here. Youth sports has gotten crazy. There's some parents out there that are unbelievable. And it's like, you know what, let's let the kids play, have fun, but also develop. Let them continue to get better at their craft, whatever it is. And then, as they get older, they have an opportunity. But it's been fun, man. It's something that I've really, really enjoyed, and we've had some great athletes on.
That's awesome, Jeff. Now, one more thing, because I just got a note hand in front of me. And
I slipped him this note.
I will waive the steak dinner if you brew us some beer instead.
He's got blueberry beer. You still got the blueberry beer going?
I still got it. We actually are starting to harvest at our blueberry farm next week, man.
Oh, he's got a blueberry farm.
That's awesome.
I got a blueberry farm, so I'll drop the berries off at Terrapin the first week of April, and May 1st, they have the beer. So I'll tell you what, when I come up, I'm coming up to Philly to do a Tuesday night game at the end of May. I will personally, on that Tuesday morning, bring a bunch of cases over to the station.
We'd love to have you. We'll send a car for you if you want to come on by and sit in with us some morning.
Oh, I'd love to, man. I'll do it.
All right, we'll find a way.
Great thing with this. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Love you, Jeff.
Thanks, man. Thank you so much. Enjoy another great season of baseball in general, and I'm looking forward to hearing you again doing Phillies games deep into October.
Well, that's right. That's the plan, man. Let's get another Braves-Phillies matchup, because there's stories all over the place.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Can't wait
Jeff.
for it. Jeff, thanks so much.
Thanks, guys.
There is Jeff Francoeur on the Comcast Business Hotline. Every day in business is a big day. Comcast Business gets you ready for what's next. Speaking of storylines, you reminded me, and we got to do something about this tomorrow. You reminded me yesterday. So many things happened in the Phillies playoff run that you forget about stuff sometimes. And, oh, by the way, so much has happened in Philadelphia sports.
Absolutely.
Right, the Eagles collapse. Embiid drops 70, and a week later he's out for an extended period of time. The Flyers might make the playoffs. I forgot all about the Attaboy Harper, Orlando Arcia thing.
Yeah, tomorrow I really do want to focus on this, because I want Arcia hearing it as
right
much.
Away.
I want him hearing it all freaking series.
And he did not handle it well.
No, he did not.
Remember those videos of him sitting at the top of the dugout,
he was losing his
back
mind
at fans? And he didn't do anything the rest of the series.
He had to be, I shouldn't say disciplined. He had to be told that he wasn't acting right.
Yeah.
In the dugout, responding to the fans getting on him.
Acuna Jr., who sometimes questionable, effort come playoff time. Credit to him, he was trying to stop him.
No, he was.
He was like saying, yo, dude, stop. Like, turn around, focus on the game.
Stop worrying about what the fans are doing. If you don't think that the Phillies fans are living in the head of the Braves organization, you didn't hear what Brian Snitker said last week. And I love Snit, but the idea is that this place bothers them.
Oh, absolutely.
It bothers
absolutely
them.
does.
And this team bothers them. Because 2 years in a row, when you're thinking you win a World Series in 21, you got an ascending team, hey, a little dynasty going.
Yeah.
We're going to win a couple of these.
And then the Phillies,
are the one to take it away from you.
Yeah.
They hate it. There's no fan base that they hate more than Philadelphia in Atlanta.
Do you remember how baby soft they were with when the comments got out. Remember
About Arceus?
Darno was
yeah.
like, "This is a sanctuary,"
which is ridiculous. Anything that is screamed,
awesome.
Anything that is screamed in a clubhouse.
Yes.
Now, I don't go to the clubhouse every game, anything like that. So, but I've been in enough. Anything that a player is walking around screaming
multiple times,
or yelling
next to reporters
with media people
right.
around, that is not a sanctuary. That is the biggest load of crap. What they didn't like is their beating of the chest
right.
got out. That could have been a 3-game sweep.
Could have been.
It might have been a sweep, and they know it, and it's in their heads. So tomorrow,
and they
or
also
whenever
remember,
the game
was
is,
it Castellanos went to the track in game 2, or in the top of the ninth,
yeah,
right?
And then Harper got doubled off on that play.
Right, there was the double play, and that's what stemmed the attaboy Harper. I mean, it could have been a sweep. You're right.
It could very well have been a sweep, and there is nothing they hate worse than the Phillies P and this city's fan base.
Good.
So make them feel really good tomorrow.
Now, how awesome. I feel like I love that the NFL does the late season divisional games.
Yes.
Maybe it's just because of the last 2 years, the storylines. I love that they're opening the season against the Braves.
I do not. I do not. I wish it was. I wish you played. They play 4 series.
Yes.
There's only 13 games. I wish there was 1 in May, 1 in June, 1 in July, 1 in August.
I like the end. I like at the end of September when it's the divisional games.
Yeah, I mean it's not bad, but if I could space it out, that's what I would.
Like opening day, I understand. Like I'm excited for opening day regardless, right?
Sure.
But I'm more excited for Phillies Braves than I was Phillies Rangers last year.
You should be.
You know what I mean? Like, and I get it. They were playing DeGrom and all that kind of stuff. But Phillies Braves, that's a way to grab a lot of people. Everybody's in on opening day, but now there's extra juice to this one.
This is the best opening day matchup easily in baseball. There's no fan base that's getting a better matchup than we're getting tomorrow.
The thing is, though, Connor, I think it's sort of in this Connor's Locked on Phillies podcast. You should subscribe.
Yes.
I would say to you, though, it's almost wasted because this city doesn't need, and the Braves fan base doesn't need, opening day to be that important. As far as it's already monumentally important. If it was Phillies A's or if it was Braves Royals for those fan bases,
no, I get
they're
that.
just as wild about it.
But I'm just saying the buzz, like there's more buzz to it because of it.
I'd rather have it where we aren't worried about weather. You know, now
if
rain happens when it's 65 or 70, I'll live with it. When rain happens where we're going to be playing in the 50s,
I'll bring you a poncho. We'll be fine.
No, I'm going to be just fine.
All right, so your card tomorrow. So you say Phillies Braves, the biggest one all of baseball.
Absolutely.
Bigger than Mets Brewers.
100.
I agree.
Come on.
Bigger than O's Angels.
Yes.
Giants Padres will be all right if those two teams are okay.
Yeah, but
if
neither
they're
of those
okay.
teams are
but what are
teams.
they? They're the 3rd and 4th most important teams in their division going
Correct.
into the year due to Arizona being the NL champs.
Blue Jays Rays is a great baseball fan game.
Okay.
It's not Yankees Red Sox.
No, it's not.
It's in that division.
Yeah.
If you're our baseball fan, you know how good those two teams
Yes.
are.
And if you're a baseball fan, you're probably not a fan of either of those teams because those fan bases aren't that good.
Right, exactly. Yankee Stros name.
Yeah, that's got
grabs
Yankee
attention.
Stros has good. That is good value.
No Garrett Cole though, so who's even throwing?
Right, that's true. You're not locked into Pirates Marlins?
No,
That's a
not
close
doing that one.
What about Tigers White Sox?
No, not doing that one either.
What about Nationals Reds?
Oh gosh.
Now the Reds are more fun.
The Reds are fun, I get. Yeah.
Twins Royals, Cardinals Dodgers could be all right.
Well, no, those are two brand names, but no.
And by the way, the Dodgers are. Well, I guess they would go back to Yamamoto.
They'd go back to the top of the rotation.
They're back to the top, yeah, because they haven't played in a while. Cubs, Rangers, Guardians, A's, definitely not. Rockies, D-backs.
No, it's the best.
And
Connor's
Red Sox,
right.
Mariners. So
You're right,
Phillies,
Clip that.
Braves.
Can I get that recorded?
I go Phillies, Braves, number 1. Baseball fans would go Blue Jays, Rays, number 2.
No, I think they'd go
and then Yankees, Stros.
I think Yankees.
Well, I mean
Astros.
the diehard baseball fans
Okay.
that know that those two teams are really good.
Yeah.
Opening day's tomorrow, dude. It's a holiday.
Can't wait.
I'm ready.
We should be off. Can Scott give us a day off?
I want to be off.
No, you're right.
And more importantly, I can't wait to show you my Rally House gear.
I can't wait. I'll be wearing mine as well.
Good, we will
It's your
be
city,
there.
It's your house. It's Rally House, man. All right, coming up next, I do want to talk a little bit more about baseball. So we are going to do a big baseball show tomorrow. Now, we do have a lot of other stuff in store for you tomorrow. I'm going to tell you about what we have coming up the rest of the week because it's only 2 more days after today, but we have a lot tomorrow. We have a lot Friday. I'll tell you what we have the rest of the week coming up next. But I'm going to start running by you some prop bets.
Oh, I love that.
All right, because just because tomorrow's opening day, you might not have time to go to your local sports book tomorrow, or you might not be able to go on your app tomorrow. Maybe you're too busy tomorrow going to the game, so you might need to do the deep dive tonight. So I'll give you some prop bets for the Phillies coming up this season. It's Kincade and Salciunas right here, 97.5 The Fanatic. Monday morning. Welcome into Kincade and Salciunas. Coming your way at 10 o'clock. Bob Cooney, the midday show. They'll be doing the show live from Rally House in
Fairless Hills.
Yeah, so if you're in the Fairless Hills or around the Fairless Hills area, make sure you stop on by because, A, you get to see Bob Cooney, which is great. B, you get to see Bill Colarulo, who's doing the entire show with him today.
Good job.
And C, you get to go to Rally House.
It is a spectacular rally house, one of the best in the entire arsenal. Great stuff, great staff there, and we always have a ton of people stop on by.
Oh, yeah, it's great. Well, I mean, people like to go just to shop, and then I think they see that we're there sometime. Dude,
I was
Rally
more
House,
thinking they're coming out for us, but they love Rally House.
Dude, I mean it when I do the read. It's an event to go to Rally House. Like, I almost want to start tailgating before I go to Rally House. Like, I want to sit in the parking lot, have a few beers, and then walk into Rally House.
I told you, I went to Wynwood the other morning.
It's beautiful.
And I went to the Wynwood location the other morning, and something has been purchased.
Oh, that's good.
For opening day.
And we will see it tomorrow.
Or Friday.
Or Friday, depending on the announcement of the weather. So I mentioned we have a lot in store for you the rest of the way this week. And tomorrow's already Thursday, so there's only 2 days left. So tomorrow, we're going to be joined by Andrew Pacheco from Inside the Birds. He'll be joining us for the entire 8 o'clock hour. Correct, Connor? Mr. Producer, 8 o'clock hour?
Yes.
All right, so Andrew Pacheco
in the house
for the entire 8 o'clock hour because tomorrow, which could be opening day, is also 1 month from the NFL draft. 1 month to the day the NFL draft starts. So
4
we
weeks.
need to
Yes,
start
4 weeks.
doing our draft coverage, and we hope to have Andrew in every single week to sort of dive deep into the NFL draft. Where are the Eagles? What might the Eagles do, depending on how the roster shakes out? So Andrew's going to join us for the 8 o'clock hour tomorrow. We'll be joined by Ricky Bowe at some point tomorrow.
Who else?
Kevin Nagandi.
Oh, wow.
From
okay, that's
Temple,
great.
Temple Made, Temple Proud, ESPN.
He is Temple Made, Temple Proud.
Who follows everything Philadelphia and also is an incredible draft guy because he does the college football show on ABC on Saturdays.
His ability to just riff on college football just once again tells me the preparation that the guy does.
Oh, my God, yeah.
Kevin loves his job.
Not just riff on college football, riff on everything.
No,
Last week, we threw like 8 different things at him. Phillies, Flyers, Sixers, Eagles, draft, and boom, boom, boom. He's on top of it. With that, it doesn't miss a beat.
We, one time when I was at ESPN, before Kevin started to do 6 p.m. Sports Center, we kicked around the idea of doing the expatriates or the outsiders of Philly sports podcast.
Oh, okay.
The 2 of us.
Yeah.
And he's fantastic.
That's
it's
awesome.
just great. Good to be able to talk to him.
Then Friday, if Friday ends up being opening day, we'll still have more opening day fun on Friday, but we're also going to be joined by Bill Colarulo for an hour on Friday.
Bill's getting around.
Yes, he is. He's getting around. He'll be there at Fairless Hills Rally House today with Bob Cooney. So that's coming your way Thursday and Friday. A lot in store for you still. Okay. I want to run a few prop bets by you. So
I love this.
Tomorrow we'll do like the deep dive over-unders. But I found an article on ESPN where they had their analysts give their picks. And one of the betting favorites, or one of their favorite bets, is the Phillies to win the World Series. Like multiple people have the Phillies winning the World Series. Now,
are they saying because of value?
Let's see.
Because I always want to hear the betting angle.
Eric Karabell said the Phillies are stronger than they were a season ago when they just missed a second consecutive World Series appearance. They have Atlanta's number in the playoffs. It's not great value, but only 2 NL teams have better odds.
He is a Phillies fan, Bob.
Yes, he is. I don't know who Fulgham is. I don't believe it's Travis Fulgham.
I don't think it is.
But whoever Fulgham is says, I would love to say the Orioles because of their overall talent, but their price is a bit too steep for me. I agree with Karabell. The Phillies have been there before. I have a loaded lineup, a deep staff, and a flame-throwing bullpen.
I saw yesterday on MLB Network, just bouncing around, that the Phillies bullpen on their panel got like 3 of the 7 votes for best bullpen.
Oh, they're the number one. Yeah, MLB Network or MLB.com. They have them as the number 1 bullpen.
I said, wow.
When so Pat did the special Philly show the other day.
Did a great job.
And I called it. We both did our hits, and I was like, dude, think about how far we've come. It was just 3 years ago where they broke it. They set a new record of badness.
That was 19, right? I believe it was 19.
Okay.
I think it was 19.
It was when Brandon Workman and Ian Kennedy, all these guys sucked and had ERAs of 6 and 7 and 8. They actually broke a record for worst ERA in Phillies franchise history by a bullpen. And the last time they broke a record from the 1800s. Something like that. Like, it was crazy. Now, how about some player props I'll run by you? I actually really like this one a lot because I think there's a couple that I really like because I think he has a good year. I've already said I think he's an all-star. One of the props that they have here is the Trey Turner over 23.5 home runs. He came close to that last year with a bad year.
I feel that's an easy one.
Easy over.
There's some times where you say that's a mistake.
Yeah, that one to me is not a mistake. So if you think about it, I mean, last year when he had the down season, and he had a down season, he had 26 home runs last year in a down season. His over-under is 23.5. I'm taking the over. A couple of guys here have Trey Turner to be the hits leader.
I don't believe that. I'm going to go by the fact that there's been a decline in Trey Turner. There's been a decline.
So you don't think he'll be the hits leader?
No, I do think he could be the hits leader of the Phillies.
Oh, no, this is league-wide.
But no, I do not.
At plus 1,800.
No, I couldn't do that.
Connor, your thoughts on both the home runs and then the hits for Turner?
The hits seem a lot more likely to me. I honestly do.
More than the home runs?
In all of baseball?
Yes.
Wow.
Wait, so you're going more likely all of baseball hits leader, more so than him hitting the over of 23.5 home runs when he hit 26 last year in a bad year?
Yes, because if he's better average-wise, I think there was something with his approach that was just off last year. And that's easy to say, he didn't hit well. But I think when he's at his best in the two-hole, which is where I think he's going to be, it's going to be trying to get on base.
Okay, now to your credit, he would have only amounts that over once in his career, which was last year. Before last year, 21 home runs. His second season with the Dodgers was his highest ever.
Yeah, I think last year turned into a screw it, I'm just going to try and hit the ball out of the park type of thing because I cannot hit right now.
Now, the other one that they have on here, the over-under of Aaron Nola's strikeouts. They're saying take the over 192.5.
I would take the over.
Let's see here.
I'd lean on the over.
He has struck out over 200 batters in 5 out of the last 6 seasons. And the only reason why he didn't one of those years
2020,
was
right?
The COVID year.
Yeah. I mean, I would absolutely like that one. I love the over strikeout bet, and I'm hoping that the folks at Bet Parks aren't listening. Last year, I would give it out every single Nola start, and it was absolutely crazy. Every single time I was hitting the over on Nola strikeouts. It was at least like 4 out of 5. And you get any bet that you win 4 out of 5, you're going
to keep going it. I'm going over as well. Connor?
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense to take the over. That does worry me a little bit, though, if he's been over 200 5 to 6 years.
Well, I think they wonder at some point
regression.
He misses time.
Yeah.
He never misses time. Ever.
Knock on some wood in there right now.
So let's see. He made 32 starts all the last 3 years, 32 starts, 12 the COVID year, 34 the year before that, 33 the year before that. Maybe they're buying into there could be a time where he misses some time.
Yeah.
But if he doesn't, then he should. I mean, look, it's not like he struck out 195 batters last year. Well, he did actually strike out. No, he struck out 202.
202.
235 the year before that. 223 the year before that. So it's not even close to the over/under.
Yeah, I'm taking the over.
All right, I am too. Okay, so real quick, because coming up next, we'll do the Kincade Salciunas Key 3, and we'll have our crossover with Bob, who's doing the show live from the Rally House in Fairless Hills. But an incredible event coming up soon to benefit the Eagles Autism Challenge, which they do such a tremendous job with that.
Spectacular.
And they raise so much money. And one of the guys that's always running it and doing a great job is my buddy Benny from Montgomeryville. What's up, Ben?
What's up, Tunis? How are you?
I'm good, man. How are you?
What's up, everybody? Listen, I'm so excited for tomorrow.
What do you got coming up tomorrow? Tell us about it, Benny.
So we have a fundraiser for the Eagles Autism Challenge tomorrow at the Eagle Diner, Street Road, York and Street Road, all day, benefiting the Eagles Autism Challenge. We have raffle prizes. We're giving away a Brandon Graham signed jersey.
Nice.
We have some other great prizes. Tickets are $5 for one and $5 for 20. And come to the Eagle Diner. It's a great event.
It's a great breakfast spot.
Oh, yeah, for sure, man.
Oh, my
gosh. And the Eagle Diner for the Eagles Autism Challenge, I love that.
That's a great spot to pick it at.
It is, and I love the ownership there. They do such a great job. And by the way, if you ever need, I'm actually on my way to talk at an organization today for a luncheon. If you ever need a speaker to talk about autism awareness, inclusion, and kindness, visit my website, benergy1.com. And
and I do such a great job. If any administration's driving today and they're like, oh, I need a speaker, visit my website.
And I will say that I back
job,
up what
buddy.
you say. You do such a great job, Ben. Listen, man, thank you so much. Keep on doing the great work, and I hope people can get to the Eagle Diner tomorrow with you guys, all right?
Yeah, but go Eagles! E-A-G-L-E-S, Eagles! Go
I
Birds.
love it. See you, Benny.
He does not need an infusion of energy.
No.
He has it every time I've ever heard you
I mean,
speak to him.
I love that his website is Benergy.
I love that.
It's awesome because he has it so much, and I love that kid. He's awesome, and he works hard.
Here's a number on Trey Turner for you. It's going to bother Connor. 335, 328, 298, 266.
Batting average going down
Last
every
4
year.
years. Yeah, he has not come close to the 300. He has not even been in the ballpark of the 300 here. So he's got to get back in that.
Connor.
And if you're going to be the hits leader in baseball, you got to make you need a 50-point jump.
If
in
Trey
batting
Turner
average.
hits below 290 this year, I'll be floored.
Well, you're not going to be the hits. You're not even in the park for hits.
I'm
leader.
just saying his
290.
baseline to me is 290.
No, but I'm saying you picking the hits leader.
Yeah, I'm
That's what
saying that's
telling
his floor. That's his basement is 290.
Okay, I'm not sure that I disagree with you.
All right. Beautifully said, guys. Beautifully said. Okay, coming your way next, Kincade and Salciunas Key 3. You hear the best 3 minutes from the show today, which is never hard to put together, right? We always have at least 3 good minutes of the show. And then we got our crossover with Bob Cooney, who will be doing the show live from Rally House in Fairless Hills. That's coming your way next, right here. Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
We are talking sports with you all day, every day. You can call our shows at 610-632-0975.
Salciunas on this Wednesday morning. Getting closer to knockout and hopefully the demise of Connor Thomas, but we'll find out. I'm rooting for you. We work.
No,
we do a show
Stop
together.
lying.
I'm rooting for you to finish at least top 10 in the station. At least top 10. All right. It is time now. Kincade Salciunas, Key 3.
Now, the Kincade Salciunas Key 3. Today's best.
So the NFL, with all the rule changes that are coming, it will always lead to debate. The banning of the hip drop tackle, I think, is a great thing for player safety, and I understand that comes first. But I do know that it's going to lead to questionable calls, missed calls. It's going to lead to eye rolling for a lot of us, because we're going to watch 150-pound cornerbacks not being able to stand up tall and tackle a 220-pound tight end. It's just not going to happen, and we're going to complain about the lack of tackling abilities from cornerbacks all across the NFL. We already know that it's an offense-driven league. I think we complain about defenses. We're going to complain about defenses more. We're going to complain about officiating more. There's still the unknown of how you can sack a quarterback, right? God forbid you fall on them, and sometimes they don't, and they still get flagged 15 yards. You touch your pinky fingernail. You forget to clip it a little bit that day, and you touch the helmet of the quarterback, 15-yard penalty. And 15 yards is a big deal. The NFL product and how it's constantly changing. Is it changing for the good, or is it changing for the bad? What have you liked? What haven't you liked? We're going to be joined now by the great Jeff Francoeur. You've had a chance to see Ranger Suarez pitch against the Braves a couple of times now in the playoffs. He's still not that well-known name across Major League Baseball. Talk about Ranger a little bit and how dominant he could be as a pitcher, especially as a number 3 in a rotation.
Well, I hope the one thing Rob Thompson is able to do with him this year, guys, is let this guy go out there and throw 6, 7 innings every 5 days, because I think he's built for it. He's got the demeanor for it. I think he's one of the most underrated pitchers in all of baseball. You go ask anybody in that Phillies clubhouse, they know they're not going to get where they want without Ranger Suarez putting a good year together.
Why is Nick Sirianni back? Lurie gives an answer.
We go through a very, very intensive process after every single season. Extremely disappointing ending to the season. Extremely disappointing to me. Very frustrating. But what we do is there's no recency bias. There's no bias. Take a very hard look at exactly what the entire season looked at, what the entire history has been over the last few years, and listen. I do a lot of listening. I ask a lot of questions. Once one can assess and meet with Nick, go through a lot of details and a lot of plans and a lot of philosophies, it was very easy to be very, very encouraged of where we're at and where we're going forward.
I respect the answer.
I'm glad the man's my owner.
Yeah, he's a great
Because that's the process I would want my owner to take.
Yeah.
Very measured, very detailed.
Without bias, without the last.
Take his time.
Looking at the last 2 months of the season.
Take his time. I disagreed with that, though.
What is it that you disagreed with?
If you ask me how the flight went, and it took off well, you get a good meal, you get a good cocktail, and everything's good. But then in the last 40 minutes of the flight, we hit terrible turbulence. We almost crashed. The wheel falls off on our landing. I don't want to hear about how the flight was good for 2/3 of the way.
Yeah, no, you don't want to hear that. And look, we still, once again, don't have an answer as to what happened. And joining us on the Comcast Business Hotline, the great Adam Schefter. Adam, how you doing today? Good morning. Anything new with Hassan Reddick? And what do you think the Eagles' direction will be with James Bradbury? Are they going to keep him as their starting outside corner, or are they going to be in the market for another one, or focus on that in the draft?
I think you're always looking in the draft. I haven't heard much talk of moving on from Bradbury yet. But Reddick, we know that they, on the right offer, they would move him. If the right offer's out there, my guess is eventually he'll get traded. I don't know when, I don't know where, but eventually that's going to come to pass. Bradbury, I haven't heard as much conversation about. Again, I think they're always looking to upgrade everything. That's just what they do. That's the nature of the team and the people. And we'll see how that figures in with Bradbury.
All right, that's the Kincade and Salciunas Key 3, the 3 best minutes from today's show. And now some of my other 3 favorite minutes of the show, and that's when we get to do our crossover. But instead of him being in front of me, unfortunately, but we get to see him later on tonight from Knockout. He's at the Rally House in Fairless Hills, the great Bob Cooney. Bobby, what's up, man?
What's up, boys? How we doing today?
We're doing well,
Wonderful.
and I know you love Rally House in Fairless Hills.
Already bought 2 different things that, sporting items that we can maybe wear tonight while we knock Andrew out. On the floor.
I'm not the one that talks smacks
Fargo
all day
Center.
like Connor.
I'm taking care of somebody at our station. I'm not going to say who it is. And I have my daughter taking care of somebody else. So
Okay.
Yeah, we'll be okay. But, we're pumped and ready to go. Got Bill Colarulo here with us, along with Ray Dunn. So everything's good.
That's
ready
awesome.
to rock and roll.
So
yeah,
what are we going to get into today?
Well, Jeffrey Lurie gave us definitely gave us some ammunition here, so we'll talk about him. Flyers last night, there's a couple ways to come away from it. I really like this team. I do. The coach intrigues me. The team excites me. Like them. Of course, we got Phillies coming up tomorrow, so we'll get into a lot of that. And then you got a homecoming tonight, if you want to call it that. James Harden coming back to the Wells Fargo Center. It's more than that. This Sixers team, looking at the schedule going down, John, you and I talked about it when we were on the morning show. I just have this team labeled for a play-in game.
And it looks that way.
And that sucks. It sucks, but at least, I think when Embiid comes back, they win that play-in game. And then you talked about your excitement with the Flyers and the Phillies. It's going to be a fun spring, man. I mean, even if they both only last one round, it's a week and a half of coverage of Sixers and Flyers, and that's also while the Phillies are playing. So it's going to be a fun time the next couple of weeks here in Philly.
Yeah, and real quick, it's different with the Sixers. What's the main talk going into the last 3 seasons? Oh, yeah, they're going to get a decent seed. They'll win one round, and then they'll lose in the second. Okay, guess what? Now it's totally different. You're going to have a totally different team. Hopefully you have a healthy Joel Embiid.
Different
You're
coach.
Probably going to have to win a play-in game. And then you go right into, I don't know, Milwaukee, Boston, whoever. Bring it. Let's go. Try something different because the other stuff never worked.
I'll take my chances with the Cavs. I'll take my chances with the Bucks. The only one that would concern me, Bob, would be Celtics.
Bring them. You're going to have to beat them at some point. I say bring them. Get that seed where you're number 8 and go to the Celtics right away.
I love that. Bobby, you enjoy yourself, and is this one of those, you bought 2 things for yourself, or is this hey, Dad, are you going to come home with...
for John.
Oh, that's very
what a
nice.
kind man
That's
you
what
are.
I was hoping for. That's why I was asking the question.
Connor's been talking too much crap lately, so I'm not getting him a thing.
Please knock him out
We'll
first.
see you tonight,
first round,
Bobby.
First round,
You got
Bobby,
it.
please.
All right, boys.
All right, there's Bob Cooney. Listen to him and Bill Colarulo live from Rally House in Fairless Hills during the midday show today. And we got knockout tonight.
We do, and support life-saving cancer research. Join us and our generous partner, H&H Heating and Air Conditioning, DelcoHVAC.com, and make a donation to the American Association for Cancer Research. You can do it at 975thefanatic.com/AACR because cancer research saves lives.
Does Connor Thomas finish in the top 3 of Fanatic employees? Not the tournament.
Oh, yes. Yes, I believe in Connor to be there.
In the top 3 of Fanatic, because Tom Alvord's good. He didn't
By the
play
way,
last year.
Haley has been in the top 3 the last 2 years of Fanatic employees. So that's all you need to know. It's not a high bar. No knock on Haley. The last 3 years, the last 2 years, she's been in the top 3.
Okay. Spin it any way you want. I'm winning tonight.
You're as good as a girl, Connor. You're as good as a girl.
Not happening, Connor. Not happening. All right, everybody, have a great rest of your day. Back at it tomorrow. Like we said, Andrew DeCecco will join us for an hour because it'll be 1 month till the draft. Also, hopefully, rain permitting, opening day.
Either way, we're ready to go tomorrow morning
It'll
at
be
6.
a lot of fun. Everybody have a great
See you
rest of your
tonight.
day. See you tonight at Knockout 97.5 The Fanatic.